finance meeting will take place. Notice to the public with disabilities. If you're an individual with a disability who is in need of a reader, amplifier, qualified sign language interpreter, or any form of auxiliary aid or service to attend or participate in the hearing or meeting, please contact the San Miguel County Manager's Office at 505-425-9333, at least 1 week prior to the meeting or as soon as possible. Public documents, including the agenda and minutes, can be provided in various accessible formats. Please contact the Commission Administrator at either of the above numbers if a summary or other type of accessible format is needed. This notice was published on the Las Vegas Optic on June 2nd, 2019, and posted on the San Miguel County website at www.co.sanmiguel.nm.us May 28, 2019. At least 72 hours in advance of the meeting, the following agenda for today's meeting was posted and available for public inspection on the San Miguel County website at www.co.sanmiguel.nm.us and also available in hard copy at the office of the San Miguel County Manager. Call to order. Roll call, please.
Madam Chair Maria Martinez.
Here.
Vice Chair Harold Garcia.
Here.
Commissioner Janice Varela.
Presente.
Commissioner Max Trujillo.
Here.
Commissioner Chris Nahat.
Here.
Mr. Commissioner Nahat, can you please lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the symbol of friendship among united cultures. Approval of the agenda. Do you have a motion?
I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Trujillo,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nahat. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Approval of minutes for April 9, 2019 regular meeting, May 15, 2019 regular meeting, May 29, 2019 special meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move, Madam Chair.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Garcia,
Second.
second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introduction of San Miguel County Employees Summer Youth Program Participants.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. We have with us our new Summer Youth Program participants for the summer of 2019. And the program is going to run 8 weeks from June 3rd to July 26th, I believe it is. And as I introduce you, just stand up, okay? So we have Albert Salazar, Caleb Medina, Michael Archuleta, Jason Gold, and Eric Tapia, and Antonio Garcia. Antonio Garcia is our first applicant from the Pecos area, and he's working with we were finally able to place somebody in Pecos. And then these are all of our beautification program summer youth. And then for our administrative support, we have Alexis Apodaca, Anne-Marie Rodriguez Vigil. I don't think Anne-Marie is with us this afternoon. Alexis Vasquez, Kershawn Stevens, and he's in the back with the IT guys. Isaac Probst, and Isaac is with the assessors. Ileana Martinez, and they're both with the assessors. Alexis Abdaca is with the manager's office, and Alexis Vasquez is with OEM Fire.
All right.
Welcome, I want to tell you. Next on the agenda, we have public input forum. Individuals that are registered to speak. Individuals wanting to speak to address the commission during public input item must sign in on the public input form prior to the commission approving the day's agenda. Recognized speakers are allowed to speak on items relevant to county business and responsibilities. In order to promote orderly, effective meeting respectful to everyone's time, county chairman may recognize individuals who have signed up to speak. Recognized speakers will be limited to 3 minutes public comment period. Recognized speakers shall be permitted to speak no more than one time. No rebuttals to the comment by others will be permitted. Comments, applause, and other interruptions from the audience shall not be allowed. In order to promote orderly meeting so attendees feel safe and secure in their attendance, threatening, abusive comments that disrupt the meeting shall not be allowed. All speakers shall address the Board of County Commissioners, mention their name, and then speak on the issue from the podium. First on the agenda, we have Gabe Estrada. If you can come to the podium, please, and identify yourself.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. I was alerted just a few hours ago about this donation to the really misnamed Sabinoso Wilderness Area. To start with, I don't believe that Sabinoso Wilderness Area met the designation for a wilderness area. It didn't have access to it. How do you declare a wilderness area when you have no access to it? And I know that this particular session, resolution on your agenda today would give them more access really to it. That should have been named the Sabinoso, the Cañon Largo Wilderness Area. That's the wilderness area, the Cañon, not the little village of Sabinoso. That's a beautiful village. It's even across the river, not even part of it. And the congressional people said that they had no opposition to this when it was named, and there was a petition from every landowner around it against it. So somebody's not telling the truth of what transpired, but it got designated because of the recommendation of our congressional people, and we have a wilderness area. We just heard about the passing of Manuel Lujan, our representative to Congress, and he was named to be the director of the Department of Interior years ago. And I'm going to quote to you what he quoted to the nation. "We will not add any more public land to what we have now because we can't even maintain what we now have. Why do we want any more that we cannot maintain?" People, we don't need any more public land, and all of this public land that is being donated is coming out of agriculture. Once it gets into the hands of the government, then you follow the rules of no return. Just now, we're just finishing up the U.S. Forest Service 15-year plan that went on for 36 years, and the final note before they declared to renew the plan was the plan did not work. What is our government doing with more land that they can't manage when they had over 150 amendments to that plan? That should have told them, well, this is the Department of Interior's neighbor, the Department of Agriculture, and I don't believe that we should just have a little short session here today. I think we should postpone this item before you vote on it and call a public hearing and alert the public what's going on. And that's, I don't know if my 3 minutes are up, but that's my plea.
Thank you, Mr. Estrada. Next on the agenda, we have Catherine Khan.
Good afternoon, Catherine Khan, Las Vegas, New Mexico, Commissioners, County Manager Melinda. Commissioners, it is not with great pleasure that I am here today. First, I question the county's approach to public hearings. How are citizens, people who work or have daily obligations, supposed to come sit through a county commissioner meeting till the public hearing comes up as an agenda item? Why not stop the county commissioner meeting at a prescribed time and hold the public hearing? Are you truly hearing from and serving citizens when county commissioner meetings are at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday and public hearings are whenever in a county commissioner meeting? Second, as a caretaker of the land trust that runs along Romeroville Road on the east side from the railroad to Route 84 and beyond, minus 300 feet privately owned, I would like to ask the Commission, how is it possible that on the say-so of a person, a bully no less, a county road can be altered, reshaped, resurfaced, and culverts put in without county road petitions signed by 10 landowners affected? Even with protestations from residents on Romero Road about the work to be done, stating that until the deluge of water created by a culvert uphill is addressed, the low end of the road will keep flooding and any road surface will be washed away. Work was done, and the culvert remains 8 months later. How many roads in our county are in real need? And how did Romeroville Road become such a priority? We invite all of you and the county manager to drive Romeroville Road from Route 84 down after a good rain and enjoy the approximately $30,000 bandwidth the county crew put on a problem they created almost 3 years ago when the county grader stripped the road surface, created deep gullies, and the culvert in question was put in by a resident with no one's permission and no permit from the county. I must ask the Commission, did you run and get elected to serve the people, your community, or to serve yourselves? From where many citizens are standing, it appears that San Miguel County law and New Mexico state law don't match. Please educate yourselves on the New Mexico state statutes that you took an oath to uphold. And remember, the county manager is at your disposal. And you were elected by the people. And you are answerable to us. Thank you. Also, I just want to add note, I have questions about agenda items 3 and 7, also about this wilderness action, and would call for a public hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Clara Lucero.
Clara Lucero, Las Vegas. Good afternoon, all of you. I'm just here to ask if anybody can help me. I've been asking just about everybody, whether from the city council to DOT and everybody. There's one block on New Mexico Avenue that doesn't have a sidewalk. Happens to be where I live. If you want to walk on New Mexico Avenue, we would have to cross the street, and it's not very safe because nobody stops for pedestrians on that street. I would like for I'm not asking the county to fix it. I'm just asking for somebody, maybe go put in a word at DOT so they can come and look at it and maybe put a sidewalk there. The doctor told me I have to walk because of my breathing and oxygen and stuff. But I can't cross the street really fast, and like I said before, the cars don't stop for pedestrians on that street. So I'm just asking somebody to go and at least put in a word and ask if they can come and fix that one block that's there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mike Estrada.
County Commissioners and staff, on that wilderness area that
Excuse me, can you please identify yourself, please?
Mike Estrada, Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Thank you.
Wilderness areas are set up to the whim of politicians and special interest peoples that once the wilderness area is established, access to wood hauling materials and everything else that you can get out of this areas are taken away from the people. No roads. There's only one access into the place, and it has to be by people that are right now healthy and can get in there. People with handicap cannot get into these areas. We have the same situation up here at the wilderness area in the Pecos. You can't go in there and cut anything, and right now that place is a disaster. All of the trails that are in there, you have to weave your way through there to get in and out. They've got crews to go in there to clear the trails. But also at handicap access, you can't get a person up there unless you carry him or help him out. And this area, this Sabinoso area, is almost inaccessible without access, and it should come up to a public meeting and more comment areas to go before the council or the public. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public input forum. Now we have new business, oath of office for San Miguel County Detention Center. Can I have the three gentlemen come to the front?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, before you are three officers who have completed their, what we call their cadet training, on-the-job, classroom, and online university classes for detention officers. Today they'll be, they have successfully completed those classes, and today will be taking their oath of office from cadet to officer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
First of all, I'd like to say congratulations on completing your courses. And now I will do the oath of office. When I'm going to say I, and then you say your name, okay? I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Mexico, that I will follow all policies and procedures of the County of San Miguel and the San Miguel County Detention Center, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and to the best of my ability discharge all duties of detention officer. Congratulations.
Congratulations, officers.
we'll go to regular order. Now on the agenda, we have the resolution for the Fulgenzi family. Do we have any members of the Fulgenzi family here?
Larry, Alita's gonna.
Huh?
You have to do Larry, Alita.
Oh, I apologize, I went up a little bit too, down a little bit. Next, we have the presentation of the retirement for Mr. Larry Alides. Can we have you, do we have you come up, Mr. Alides? I want to say thank you. You can face the crowd here. Mr. Alides has been an employee, retired from San Miguel County, and we want to give him respect and tell him thank you for the hard work that he did for the county throughout his life. I will turn it over to his supervisor, which is Mr. Arnold Lopez, and he'll take over from here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I had the opportunity to work with Larry or supervise Larry for approximately 4 years. During this time, Larry demonstrated superior work ethics. You know, any task or direction that Larry received, he responded immediately. No hesitations, always acted professional. He never made an excuse. All tasks were accomplished efficiently and on time. Larry, whether it was 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning to do snow removal, go haul solid waste, trash, of all things, no hesitation. You know, Larry, we thank you for your exceptional dedication, for your employment at San Miguel County. We wish you the best in your new endeavors, and we ask God to bless you and your family, and thank you for all you did for our department. And we have a plaque here for you, and it reads, retirement plaque presented to Larry L. Alides in recognition of his retirement on May 1st, 2019. San Miguel County Public Services Operations Equipment Operator 3, 24 years and 4 months of public service. Is presented this 14th day of May 2019 by the Board of County Commissioners and County Manager of San Miguel County. Larry, thank you very much. Larry. Madam Chairman, may I just make a comment on Larry? And I refer to Larry as the county Swiss Army knife. Because there was nothing that he couldn't do. All kinds of duties. I know I've seen him drive trash trucks, remove snow. And thank you, Larry, very much for your service. Enjoy the rest of your. I know you're going to work harder now because I know what you're doing.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Garcia.
I'd like to say a few words about Larry. I had the honor of working with Larry for 16 years. And when I first met Larry, he was driving the Class A trucks, the Class B trucks. He was operating equipment. And I soon found out that Larry didn't have a Class A license that was required for the trucks, but he was doing. I mean, you couldn't tell. By no means could you tell. It didn't take long for Larry and I to get acquainted with each other, and 16 years later, I just want to extend my gratitude to Larry and to his family for being a part of my family and for being a part of my work family that I had those 16 years that I worked at the county. And I truly believe that, you know, guys like Larry are hard to come by. And I just want to extend my gratitude to you, Larry, and thank you and your family for everything that you did for us.
Madam Chair, if I may, invite the family into our break room here. We have some refreshments for you all, family, friends, and all the audience. You're welcome to some cake and punch.
Sure.
So we'll stop for these 5-10 minutes so that everybody can go and have some cake and ice cake and, what did you?
Punch.
Punch, okay, I added ice cream, but, cake and punch.
Is there enough cake?
So if anybody wants to go have some, Mr. Alides, you can do the honors.
Thank you.
Stop for a picture.
Yeah.
Bro Gumbo, Swiss knife. Swiss knife.
Army night.
That's cool, man. Arnold, I think you went to there.
No, I have
There's no Fulgenzi's here. If we stop there, we won't be.
How are you? How are you? Thank you. Yes, thank you guys. Thank you.
Leonard Marquez. Está Leonard, está Rudy, está Johnny, and then the other guy that you, Carlos. Yeah. Yes.
Still at it?
Oh, yeah.
This kid that goes to the gym, I told me he had a bike in the car, I told me he had been tired, but I don't change it. I was
You know Chris?
el Swiss Army knife.
¿Qué no quiere el cake?
No le hago el cake. No le hago el cake.
Yo no la había agarrado.
Cake. They said cake. Actually, I hadn't even noticed. I thought it was him. No Fulgenzi's, that's too bad. I'd rather do it when they're
We should
here.
table that and make sure that they come to the next one. Because it's kind of closing of the school.
They probably didn't know.
Yeah, they probably didn't know.
They probably didn't.
It would be nice for them to be here.
Matter of fact, I'm going to make a motion to table it.
No, second.
But we can't.
Table it till next month, yeah.
Yeah. No, just table it.
Oh, yeah, for that, oh, yeah, I thought you meant it later, no, like when they show up.
Maybe they were notified. Mike, ¿qué andas haciendo pedo? ¿Cómo andas haciendo pedo? How are you, sir? Nice to meet you. This guy's an old boot.
Ahora ya no puede.
I don't think so.
Can I have a roll call vote? I mean, roll call. The vote, the roll call.
Madam Chair Maria Martinez.
Here.
Vice Chair Harold Garcia.
Here.
Commissioner Janice Varela. Commissioner Max Trujillo.
Here.
Commissioner Chris Nahat.
Here.
Next, we have the presentation of the 2020 census. Presenter Veronica Arzate. Thank you.
Yes, that is. Good afternoon, everyone. County Commissioners, Madam Chair. Thank you to Commissioner Trujillo for inviting me to do the presentation or talk about this very important topic that we have developing in the state of New Mexico and all across the state. Can you hear me? Again, my name is Veronica Arzate de Reyes. I am the partnership specialist with Census 2020 here in New Mexico, and my job has been to develop partnerships with the different municipalities, the towns, the counties across New Mexico to make sure that we're preparing the community for the decennial population count. So thank you for having me. Why do we do the decennial census population count? Every 10 years, the United States Constitution mandates that we do a census and we count everyone living in the country, including Puerto Rico. But, you know, just because it's mandated by law, that's not sufficient for people to be aware of it and know that they need to participate. So we need to make sure that they hear the different messages in regards to how participating in the census is safe, easy, and is confidential. When they are filling their census questionnaire, all the personal identifiable information that is included in the census questions are protected by law. All Census federal employees, including myself, we have to take an oath of confidentiality, and we're bound to that oath for life. So even when I no longer work for the Census Bureau, I would still be bound to that oath, and the penalties for breaking that oath of confidentiality or sharing personal information about anybody are 5 years in prison and up to $250,000 in fines, which is much more than what I can ever pay, or both of those penalties. So when people fill their questionnaire, they need to know that it's going to be confidential. We extract all the personal identifiable information, and what gets shared with the communities and the government, the state, is the statistical data information. Why is this important that we participate? Is because through the population count is how political redistricting takes place everywhere in the state, in the counties, in the municipalities, and also at the federal level. The congressional seats get a portion based on how many people live on each state. So if we don't show everybody that has living in New Mexico and another state all of a sudden rapidly grows, they don't add more congressional seats. They just take one of the congressional seats from another state that has been diminishing in population, and they give it to the growing state. And that's one of the reasons why it's also important that we tell New Mexicans and people in San Miguel County, we need to make sure that we're participating because we want to keep that political representation in Washington. Another reason why it is important that we participate in the decennial population count is because this is our once-in-a-decade opportunity to make sure that the numbers, the people living in this community get counted, and we will not have another chance to get counted until 2030. So based on those numbers that we obtained during Census 2020, we're going to be receiving part of the federal funding that comes from the federal government, and that is above $675 billion on an annual basis. So each municipality, each city, each town, each county receives their part of the federal funding, and that's money that we utilize for different programs like Medicaid, Medicare, transportation to upgrade our roads, our infrastructure, the schools, healthcare. That is so important, and New Mexico is one of the states that has a lot of need, as we all know. So it's more important than ever that we encourage everybody to be counted during this next Census 2020. Again, it is the law. That's not a big motivator for people. We need to show them the different reasons in which the funding comes and affects our daily lives, the betterment for our community, the better schools for our children, more services for our senior citizens, and so on. So to me, that's the biggest motivation, like why we need to make sure that we're counting everybody. This year, during the Census 2020, we're going to have more ways in which we can participate and fill our questionnaire. It is important that that I highlight that when the census campaign opens up, like we're going to have a mass media campaign coming from headquarters from Washington, D.C., and you're going to be hearing about the decennial census on billboards, radio stations, TV, newspapers. But that's not enough to capture everyone's attention, so we need to be working through the grassroots with organizations that reach out, what we call the hard-to-reach population, and let them know why it matters that they participate. And it's very important that they self-respond. That means as soon as the questionnaire is open, they can either go online. It's going to be there's going to be a website for the census where you can log in and fill your census questionnaire there, or you can call a 1-800 number, or you can do the old paper form and mail it back. For the majority of us who have access to a computer or Wi-Fi, it's going to be very practical, right? Like we can do it in our lunch break or once we get home on an evening or the weekend. But here in New Mexico, with so many rural communities, it is very important that they know that just because they don't have access to a computer or to Wi-Fi, that does not prevent them from participating. There will be the 1-800 number that is also going to be heavily advertised. And that 1-800 number, people can call and request, there will be 16 different languages available, so they can call and request somebody that speaks Navajo or Spanish or a Vietnamese language, whatever the language of comfort is, and then that person will help them fill the questionnaire over the phone. Then there will be several reminders coming to the housing unit, and if by the fourth reminder they haven't either gone online or done it over the phone, they will receive the traditional paper questionnaire and a last reminder to say fill it out and mail it back. If they don't do that, then at that point we're going to start deploying census enumerators, and those are the census workers that are going door to door, knocking on your housing unit and asking if they can help you fill that census questionnaire. This is the last resort that we take to make sure that we're counting everybody in the community, but it's not the most effective one because we have a lot of families that have mixed status, meaning some family members might have proper documentation to be here in the country, but other family members might not. And then people get scared and they don't know, oh, is that somebody knocking on my door? Is that immigration or is that a census worker? And they don't know, and they hide, and they don't open the door, and we miss that, counting that family, right? Or another reason, also sometimes apartments have a certain rule about how many people can be staying in that apartment unit, but with multi-generational families staying in one place, or field workers that we have a lot of times, 12 workers are staying in one tiny apartment, if you have somebody on your door, you feel a little more concerned about stating how many people in reality are in that housing unit. But if you do it from the comfort of your phone or the internet and nobody's seeing how small or big your space is, you feel a little more relaxed to share and say, yes, we have 12 people living here. So it is very important that we communicate, like as soon as the census becomes available online, which will be March 12th of 2020, go ahead and log online, fill it up, and then you don't have to worry about somebody coming and knocking on your door. So one of the strategies that we're utilizing across New Mexico is called the Complete Count Committee. And the way that we can structure one here for San Miguel County is you will pass a resolution supporting Census 2020 initiatives, and I have templates that I can share with you, and you can adjust the template so it fits your community and your needs. And then the highest elected official will be appointing volunteers to serve on that Complete Count Committee. And I come and give the training, and basically these people that serve on that committee become the ambassadors, the local ambassadors that can be helping us share the message with all the network of people that they touch and help educate the community that way. These are some of the different segments of the community that is recommended that we have participating. Of course, you want to have somebody representing faith-based, the church, the local church, somebody from education, from the schools, because especially minorities, children is the main source of information for those families, especially if language is a barrier. The kids come and then they tell their parents, this is happening, the census is coming, we need to participate, we need to be counted. Somebody from the business sector, somebody from the nonprofit, and you can have it as big or as basic as you want that Complete Count Committee, and then subsequently they can start engaging other strategic partners in the community. So like I mentioned, once we move forward allocating people to serve on this Complete Count Committee, I can come and do the training. I don't know if you recently heard, we had, last week I trained the Complete Count Committee at the state level. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham allocated $3.5 million to support census outreach and education, and then she created a state Complete Count Commission with people from across New Mexico representing the different segments of the community, and then they're going to be sort of like the big umbrella for all the other Complete Count committees that we have forming in the counties and in the cities. These are, the census campaign is similar to a political campaign, so right now we are on the education phase that will last until the beginning of 2019, where we're telling people why it is important that they participate and how it affects our communities. And then the awareness phase will begin in January, February, early spring of next year. And that's where you will see a lot of the mass media campaign coming forward. Motivation. The motivation phase is when people have already received their questionnaires or the online questionnaire is available, and we just want to motivate them to go ahead and take care of it and get it out of the way. April 1st has always been known as Census Day, and that's sort of like a marker, like families that go back and forward, wherever they're staying on Census Day on April 1st, that's where they should be counted. And then towards the late part of May and July is the reminder phase, where census workers will be going door to door, and we want to tell people, if somebody comes and knocks on your door, be aware. We have census takers, census enumerators visiting different housing units and support their work and help them fill their questionnaire. Other tools that we have available on the census.gov website is we have accounts for Facebook and social media, and these are very easy ways in which I do it on my LinkedIn account. Like I subscribe, and then I see something about confidentiality or why we need to participate, and I just hit share, and I share it, and all my network gets to see it. So it's an easy way to share information about the census. We're going to be having 2 offices in Albuquerque, one in New Mexico, one in Albuquerque, and the other one in Las Cruces. And then the third area will be supported by the office in Window Rock, Arizona. And this is mainly because now the jobs are going to be assigned online electronically. So we want to make sure that we have people working all across the state, but they just need to be doing their reporting online. And that's the reason for those 2 main offices handling the job assignments. We are currently recruiting all across the state, including San Miguel County, and these are part-time positions with the census, but we want to make sure that everybody is aware of them. These are good-paying jobs. It starts at $13.50 all the way to $15.50 an hour, and students or people that are semi-retired, these are great opportunities. We want to make sure that we're hiring within that local community. That way they don't have to travel far to get to their job assignment, and also they know that community. So hopefully when they go knock on somebody's door, it's somebody that you might perhaps have seen at the grocery store or at the local library, and they also speak your language. They don't seem so foreign that you feel a little cautious about talking to them and opening your door. All the jobs are going to be available. People need to apply online, and they need to be computer savvy. They're going to do all their work on a mobile device, and the census will be providing those devices, but the people that we hire, we want to make sure that they know how to use the technology. And they also need to be 18 years of age or older. So all the information is online, and I can share the link with you. The part of the role of the partnership specialist, that's me, is guide you on the formation of or guide you on the resolution, like give you some ideas and some tools, and then also how to put the complete count committee together. Then I come and train them, and I'm also available if you have events or organizations that have annual conferences. Let me know, and I'm happy to put that on my schedule and come and give that presentation on behalf of the census and the importance, the economic impact to our communities. Questions?
Questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Trujillo.
Victoria. So what kind of support can the county expect from the Census Bureau so that we can get the word out, or help, do our part in getting the word out to our communities?
Yes, so if you decide you want to form that complete count committee, I will be the liaison, feeding all the information in regards to what's happening on each state as we move forward, and then also support with templates and just different information. But so basically, I can assist with the education campaign, the support, but then for monetary purposes, it will be either applying to funds from that state funding that they allocated, the 3.5 million, that they're still trying to decide how they're going to be distributing those fundings to all the communities. They want to make sure that the rural communities are part of this. And one conversation has been that perhaps everybody that has a formal trained complete count committee, the complete count committee can apply directly to the funding that is managed through DFA, Department of Finance Administration. And some municipalities, if they have the resources, maybe you can see if something can be allocated from the county here, and I know this is challenging for the smaller communities, but for example, Albuquerque and Bernalillo County, they united efforts and they formed a joint complete count committee, and each one of them allocated $100,000 for outreach and education support, creating posters and different initiatives that they're going to be having. And it will be, but they're like some of the largest metro areas in our state. So for them, it was a little more accessible to request that kind of funding. So I don't know, it will be taking a look and see what resources you have available here that you can say, maybe you can assign a staff person to be in charge of the census campaign, and I will be collaborating with that person.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Veronica, so you'll be providing the information for if we have individuals within our community that want to apply for positions?
Yes, for the jobs, I will be, if you let me know, I'll communicate with Commissioner Trujillo, and then you can let me know who do you want me to be sending that information as the job openings become available. But they're currently hiring. I know that's taking place right now. So all the help that we can get to make sure that everybody hears about these positions and applies will be very useful, beneficial for us. Yes?
Madam Chair, thank you, Ms. Gonzalez, for coming to Las Vegas to present and getting us ahead of the game instead of behind the curve. So I appreciate you being here in your presentation. As you probably know, we have a lot of our areas of our county is rural, and people, like you mentioned, don't have access to Wi-Fi, internet, and some don't even have computers. So we can get some ideas and help in how we reach out. And I heard there are these super faces if they don't respond if they don't go online, and then if they don't respond by mail, and then they'll have someone knocking at their door. So we might need to figure out a step so that people don't feel threatened with someone coming to their door knocking. So how we can be proactive to make that happen. And I do have a question about the citizenship question.
Yes.
I understand that that's new on the census, and do you anticipate that that might be an obstacle or a problem? And do you have any ideas or suggestions on how we can address that for our population?
Yes, so there's a citizenship question right now on the questionnaire, and all it asks is, are you a citizen, yes or no? And the Supreme Court is deciding currently whether they can remove the question from the questionnaire or they're going to leave it. We don't know until the end of this month what's going to happen, but what I've been telling partners in the community is, let's make sure, we don't know yet, but let's assume that the question is going to be there. How can we message our communities in a way that they're not afraid to answer by stressing the confidentiality protection by law, like none of their personal information will get shared with immigration, with the IRS, with the police, with no other agency. And then also how by them participating, they're actually supporting the community, the benefit of I am an immigrant myself. I came from Mexico, and I know that I came here to this country to seek a better life for me and for my family. So I want to make sure that as a Hispanic, Latino woman, my voice, my issues get heard in Washington. And how am I going to do that? Is by making sure that the representatives in DC know how many people of my minority are living in this area, because then that's how they will pay attention to what matters to me. And if they don't, then I'm going to be not re-electing them, or I'm not going to be happy with their job that they're doing. But it's important that people realize, is by participating, you're securing your political voice, and then also the economic benefits that are coming to our families.
Thank you. One more follow-up question, and then I'm done. And that is on the congressional seats. I have heard that that it's expected that New Mexico might lose one of our seats. Do we know that going into it? I know that's why it's important we're counted, but is that something that we need to anticipate? Or
Well, the Census Bureau doesn't make projections on that. However, I was given a presentation in Tierra Amarilla, and there was a staff person from Congressman Ben Ray Lujan, and he was saying, he's like, if we don't show up in numbers, that might be, there's one seat that might be at risk. But that was his projection. So
that's a concern, but we don't know yet.
We don't know,
It depends
yes.
on the numbers. Do we have numbers? And I don't expect you to come up with that right now, but are there numbers that exist of this number will get us this many seats, and if we retain these numbers, we can keep our congressional seats, and if we lose population, we'll lose that? Is that someplace, or is that yet to be determined?
I don't have access to those numbers, but I can inquire and see if maybe the congressional offices might have those.
Oh, yeah, they probably do, and that's really critical, especially so we can encourage people to participate. Thank you so much.
Yes, and one other thing I wanted to mention, I'm also collaborating with Union County, and they're also very rural. They have a lot of challenges, but they already have their complete count committee because, it's that word of, I forgot that word, but word of mouth, that they know is going to be making a difference with people in their community, and then that way encourage them to participate. And so, yes, there's a lot of rural areas, and if we do a training, we can share ideas in regards to what activities you can do or they can implement here in this community to make sure that we're reaching. One example is creating, if there's a school that has computer labs, maybe organizing a Saturday where people in the community are invited to come and do their census questionnaire on that Saturday morning, and volunteers are there to guide them to make sure that they're getting on the right website and that they just feel comfortable with participating.
Excellent suggestions, ideas.
Yes.
Thank you so much again.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we'll go into regular order. Item number 1, we have resolution for the Fulgenzi family.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Nahar.
Yes, at this time I would like to move to table this resolution. I can't understand why the Fulgensis are not here, but I think they should be here to be recognized. They have a long history of tennis greatness throughout the state of New Mexico. They brought to Las Vegas a large number of championship trophies, so I would request that we table this until July, so I'll notify the family personally and make sure that they're here for the July presentation.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to table by Commissioner Nahar,
Second.
second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have item number 2, resolution 2020 census participation and awareness. Presenter Janice Varela. Commissioner.
Thank you, and Ms. Arstate left the room, so wanted her to see that we're already going to present this resolution with our committee recommendation. Thank you so much, Madam Chair and members of the Commission, for allowing me to present this resolution 2020 census participation and awareness. Whereas the United States Census has been performed every 10 years since 1970, with the last census in 2010, and whereas the United States government will be undertaking the decennial census in 2020, and whereas April 1, 2020 is Census Day for the United States of America pursuant to Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution, and whereas an accurate census is essential for the apportionment of representatives with the legislative bodies of the U.S. House of Representatives, the New Mexico State Legislature, and within the County of San Miguel voting districts, and Whereas correct apportionment of federal dollars for health, education, transportation, child and elder care, emergency preparation and response, public and social support programs of all kinds depends on complete and accurate age, population, and other ethnic and demographic information gathered every 10 years. And whereas accurate census information is critical to planning for future growth, development, and social needs of the County of San Miguel, and whereas the census information is confidential and federal law prohibits any public or private agency from gaining access to confidential census data. And whereas San Miguel County contains members of population groups that are traditionally undercounted, and whereas a number of unincorporated communities within San Miguel County desire accurate information about the size and makeup of their respective communities, and now, therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of San Miguel County, State of New Mexico, hereby proclaims full support for and encourages all residents to participate in the 2020 U.S. Census. And be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners does hereby, 1, acknowledge the county staff have already provided the U.S. Census Bureau with an updated residential list as part of the local update on census addresses, LUCA, and 2, direct the county manager to coordinate with the City of Las Vegas, Village of Pecos, and surrounding areas to organize a coordinated effort amongst the local governments throughout the county to ensure the most accurate outcome of Census 2020 and express support for cooperation with other complete count committees within the region. And further direct the county manager to promote greater community awareness and participation in the 2020 census through public education initiatives in conjunction with local leadership and organizations from within government, the business community, the education sector community, and nonprofit organizations, faith-based groups, the media, youth and healthcare organizations, the intent of such collaboration being an increased response rate based on the unique knowledge and expertise of each organization.
Thank you, Commissioner Varela. Do I have a motion on the floor to approve?
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Nahat,
Second.
second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have item number 3, resolution in support of the Wilderness Land Trust. Presenter Max Trujillo, Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I read the resolution, I will give a little bit of background on the Sabinoso Wilderness Area. In 2009, Wilderness Area was designated by Congress, and the Department of Interior, the land is owned and run by the Bureau of Land Management, which is a sector of the Department of Interior. When we designate, or when the designation occurred, we found that the wilderness area was completely encompassed by private land. So we had no access to that wilderness area, no public access. 3 years ago, the Trust for Public Land purchased a ranch that is adjacent to the wilderness area called the Rimrock Rose Ranch, then owned by a gentleman by the last name of Ritter. And the reason for that purchase was they purchased the ranch and donated it to BLM to become part of the Sabinoso Wilderness, but the greater reason was to allow public access to the Sabinoso Wilderness that the public did not have before. That went through, and now the public has access to the Sabinoso Wilderness. So now there is an opportunity for the Trust for Public Lands to purchase an adjacent ranch to the wilderness, which is now private. The public has no access to that property. It's all private property. There is no public grazing on that. Only the current landowner has all rights to that land. The public has zero rights to that land. The Trust for Public Land has entered into a contract to purchase that property. It's near Cañon Largo, and it is adjacent to the current Sabinoso Wilderness. And to donate that property to the BLM to incorporate it into what is now the Sabinoso Wilderness. And some of the reasons and benefits will be in the resolution that I'm about to read. But I thought I would give a little bit of background so that we understand that what we are getting as the public is something that we don't have now. And as a hunter and fisherman, I know that public land is being taken from us on a daily basis. Access to our land, mostly by private interests, and it's happening all the time. So, for myself, and any time there's an opportunity to increase public land and public access to that land, I support those efforts. So this is Resolution 6-11-19 Wilderness, a resolution expressing the support for the U.S. Bureau of Land Management to accept the donation of lands to expand the Sabinoso Wilderness. Whereas the Sabinoso Wilderness comprises nearly 20,000 acres of managed by the U.S. Bureau of Land Management, and whereas the Trust for Public Land has proposed to expand the Sabinoso Wilderness through a donation of nearly 9,000 acres to the BLM, provided that the federal agency manage it as wilderness, and the Sabinoso Wilderness offers important wildlife habitat. And whereas the Sabinoso Wilderness offers important access to hunting and other recreational activities to residents of San Miguel County, as well as visitors to the county. And whereas expanding the Sabinoso Wilderness will increase recreational activity and contribute to the health and wellness of San Miguel County residents. And whereas expanding the Sabinoso Wilderness will make more public land available to hunting, hiking, and other forms of outdoor recreation in San Miguel County. And whereas expanding the Sabinoso Wilderness will result in an increased tourism and economic development in San Miguel County. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of San Miguel County Commissioners supports the U.S. Bureau of Land Management accepting the donation of lands from the Trust for Public Land to incorporate the said lands into the Sabinoso Wilderness with all the pertinent protections under federal law. And it is further resolved that the county managers to send a copy of this resolution to Senator Tom Udall, Senator Martin Heinrich, Representative Ben Ray Lujan, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, and U.S. Interior Secretary David Bernhardt.
Thank you, Commissioner Trujillo. Do I have a motion on the floor to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia,
Second.
second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we're on item number 4, Manager's Report, informational purpose only. Presenter, Vidal Martinez, County Manager.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, I have 4 items to present today. The first item, we had an opportunity last month to host a meeting in Pecos to discuss the recycling program. And I will pass this out. What we are looking at, we're looking at grant opportunities. We found ones that would meet our specific needs. So I will work with the mayor of the village of Pecos in putting together a grant application that will initiate a recycling program in Pecos. Now, keep in mind, we currently do recycle. It's limited, but we do recycle. But this grant will expand the services in the Pecos area. What we plan to do is start in Pecos and then eventually expand throughout the entire county. So the handout that I gave you today is a sample of the grant that I will be working on. Any questions on that?
Mr. Manager, what is the turnaround on that grant? Are there monies immediately available, or is there a period of time that we need to wait for this? Or?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, we would have to wait.
Okay. Is there something we can do immediately to begin the process of providing recycling bins, or begin our program prior to us getting the grant?
Working with the foreman, one of the issues that came up was recycling of cardboard. And so he indicated through an email that we would continue to do that. The concern that was brought up, are we going to recycle every day, or will we have specific dates that the citizens could recycle? But to answer your question, we are doing some recycling, but this grant would help us to expand it, services.
Madam Chair? Thank you, Manager Martinez, for working on this application and for going to that meeting in Pecos, and thank you so much for Arnold and Alice, your staff that came out to meet with the mayor and the residents that were concerned about this. And Pecos Business Association was there, as you know, and one of the members went and wrote notes and sent them out to everybody. And then one person responded about the recycling, so it's still not really clear. And this follows up to the question of Commissioner Trujillo. Are we going to continue providing the service now besides the cardboard? And there was discussion about maybe having the recycling in Pecos be available only 1 or 2 days a week and have it staffed versus just having it there all the time. And things were kind of left up in the air, and I was hoping for a response from you to the group, so it's not, so the one person who wrote the notes, that's not assumed that that's the final word, that we have a response from the county. So the question is, are we going to continue the services in Pecos, and are they going to be as have been, or are they going to change?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, the concern that was brought up, do we have the manpower, do we have an individual that could be there all the time to collect the material? There's only certain material that we can accept. So I'm still working out the details with our foreman. I think he stepped out. But we need to identify an individual that could be there to collect the information. The problem we're having right now is when we don't have someone, an employee at the specific recycling bin, sometimes we have citizens throwing things in there that don't belong. And so if they throw something in the container, it contaminates the whole, everything. So the issue is making sure that we have somebody that is dedicated just to recycling. So we're still working on those details.
Okay, so we won't have the general recycling bin there until that's resolved, but the cardboard will be there.
Correct.
Every day.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And I'd appreciate it, Manager, you could send an email to everybody just to clarify that, because it's kind of just left up in the air. Thank you so much, I appreciate that.
One more comment, Madam Chair and Mr. Martinez. I just want to thank Commissioner Varela for spearheading this recycling and awareness of recycling in the county. We've heard it many times from our constituents, and it's not just the recycling, it's illegal dumping and littering and things that plague our county that I think should be incorporated into this larger plan. But I thank Commissioner Varela for taking that initiative. It's long overdue, and I fully support it.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I had the opportunity to attend our first CEO, Chief Executive Officer meeting, and that was held on May the 28th. And we had the president of New Mexico Highlands University in attendance. We had the director of behavioral health. We had superintendents. We had a director of and Central and other chief executive officers. The plan for this group is, number one, to continue to meet and to come up with issues that we could address in collaboration. So one of the concerns, or one of the issues that was brought up is what can we do in collaboration in assisting the youth? So that is one issue. The other one, there has to be a coordinated effort when we are requesting funds, capital outlay funds from the legislature. So our next meeting will be on, let me see, August the 27th, and we plan to meet every other month. Madam Chair, members of the commission, I had an opportunity to meet with the chiefs, emergency response chiefs, the police chief, the fire chief, the captain from the state police, and other officers. The meeting was about collaboration, working together, and if we have a major incident within our community, how can we work together to resolve those issues? It was a good meeting, and again, they will continue to meet every other month. The last item, I've had several requests from employees and supervisors to July the 4th, where the county is closed on July 4th, and there's a request to see if we can also close on the 5th. The 5th is on a Friday. As you know, during the 4th of July fiestas, we usually have issues with parking. I know the church will be there will be some construction going on, so I will meet with HR Director and Madam Chair to see if we could allow our employees to have July 5th off. Madam Chair, members of the commission, that's all I have.
Thank you, Manager Martinez. Next on the agenda, we have
Madam Chair, before we proceed.
Commissioner Garcia.
Mr. Manager, if I may make a request for next month's report, I know that we had a retreat some time back, and during that retreat, there was some directives given by the 5 commissioners on things that we want done, and some of these requests are very critical for the future of the county. And if I'm in order, as part of the manager's reports monthly, and if I have support from the commission, I'd like to request an update, a written update on the directives that were issued, so that we can know what's going to happen for the following 5 months of the year, because it's real critical that we get issues addressed that have been requested, and I'd like to make that request.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, as I reviewed the requests, 70% of those requests come out of the Public Works Department, more specifically roads. And as I recall, we did approve a strategic plan for roads, so that was a huge accomplishment on behalf of the Public Works Department. Right now, I'm working with John Tiernan on an asset plan. I know that was an additional request, so that will be presented in the July meeting. The other request from Mr. Garcia was a pay plan across the board for all employees, and I know Ms. Eileen Cedillo is working with another county on obtaining that information. We have, I think it's Otero County that is putting that together, and San Miguel County is participating in that. So once she has that report complete, we will present that to the commission. But what I will do is I will review the other items, and I will give an update in our July meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Commissioner Nahat.
My concern would be that I want to do something to enhance the sheriff's department. I was dismayed to find out that 20 years ago when I was a sheriff that they have even less deputies today than we had back then. So a big concern of mine has always been and will continue to be public safety. And we need to find a way to grow those numbers.
it's amazing that Lincoln County, that the county, probably with the same population base as ours, has up to 27, 28 deputies. And I think, what the sheriff's department, what do we have now?
We currently have 7.
Got 7 deputies? Yeah, and I don't think that's adequate to cover the law enforcement needs of the county, so we need to somehow find a way to improve the sheriff's department. Their numbers and as well as their pay, because I understand that, I looked at a pay plan and they're grossly underpaid, so that's one thing that I'd like to address.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I met with the sheriff a couple of days ago, and as a Melinda, our chief finance officer, Melinda Gonzalez, was also in the meeting, and we met with the sheriff to discuss personnel. And in the end of the discussion, the sheriff made a decision to, instead of having 7 deputies, he wants to have 6. And what he will do with the 7th position, instead of replacing that, he's going to use that money to fund, to increase the salary of the other 6. So now instead of 7, we will have 6. But I made it a commitment to the sheriff that if funds are available, I agree with him that we have to increase the number of deputies. We are very fortunate in this community to have the state police district. They currently have approximately 25 officers, but I agree with Commissioner Nahad that we have to do what we can fiscally to increase the number of deputies within San Miguel County.
Any further questions? Comments? We'll move on to item number 5, Lodgers Tax Update. Presenter Glenn Post. Lodgers Tax Chairman, is he here?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, since Mr. Glenn Post is not here today, I would make the recommendation that we table this item.
We have a motion on the floor to table.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner
Second.
Varela, second by Commissioner Nahad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to item number 6, public hearing, CDBG project selection. Presenter, Mr. Alex Tapoya, Planning and Zoning Supervisor.
Madam Chairman, Commissioners, let me ask anybody who's going to participate or contribute or discuss matters in this public hearing, that they please stand, raise their right hand, and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Alex Tapoya,
Do swear to tell the truth
Swear to tell the truth
in my presentation
in my presentation
to the Board of Commissioners
to the Board of
tonight.
Commissioners. Good afternoon. CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant process, requires that a public hearing be held and conducted in order to report on past CDBG program activities, receive public input, and select a project for an application. The public hearing may be held during a county commission meeting. However, the public hearing must be a meeting all to itself, separate from the county commission meeting. So what we would like to do is ask the Board of County Commissioners to adjourn from its regular commission meeting and then call to order a CDBG public hearing, and then hear a presentation on the purpose and history of the CDBG program, and then accept public comment, and lastly select a project by resolution, a project that would be submitted with a CDBG application. So we have a format that we're required to follow. So first of all, we would ask that the Board of County Commissioners adjourn its meeting and then call to order a CDBG public hearing.
Do I have a motion on the floor to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Trujillo, second. Second. Commissioner Varela, all those favor? Aye. Motion carries. We now go into CDBG public hearing.
Okay, the purpose, this is our CDBG public meeting agenda with required elements. It's Exhibit 1Q1, provided by Local Government Division. The purpose and history of the Community Development Block Grant Program. First of all, we have program objectives, and the program objectives are to benefit principally low and moderate income families, aid in the prevention of slum or blight, meet urgent community development needs where an existing condition poses a threat to the health and welfare of the community and other financial resources are not available. The previous amount of funding awarded in the last fiscal year was $10 million. Backing up a little bit to aiding in the prevention of slum or blight, an area that the Board of County Commissioners would consider to be an area of slum or blight has to be designated as such by resolution. There's a format you have to follow for that, so you just can't go out and pick a place and say it suffers from slum or blight. That is currently not funded by CDBG. It's not an, although it's part of one of the objectives, they won't accept an application for that. In regard to urgent community development needs, that would be under the category of emergency. And an emergency needs to be documented and concurred by a state agency of some sort, of environment department or something like that. It has to be a threat that has occurred in the last 12 months. Eligible applicants include all counties and incorporated municipalities except for the cities of Albuquerque, Las Cruces, Santa Fe, Farmington, and Rio Rancho. Water and domestic associations may apply for a planning grant through their county. Sanitation districts, public nonprofit groups cannot apply directly for assistance, but may apply through an eligible municipality or county. So if there's a public nonprofit group out there that wants to apply, they would have to apply through the county. The county would have to submit the application and own the building, or let's say the Samaritan House, for example. The county would actually have to own it and then turn right back and lease the operation back to them. Indian Pueblos and tribes receive funding directly from HUD. Eligible activities include community infrastructure such as water and sewer systems, street improvements consisting of roads, streets, curb, gutter, sidewalks, traffic control devices, municipal utilities, housing, which is real property acquisition, rehabilitation, clearance, provision of public facilities to increase housing opportunities, code enforcement, historic preservation activities. A maximum of $65,000 in CDBG funds per home can be used on rehab repair activities. Public service capital outlay, community centers, senior citizen centers, community facilities designated to provide health, social, recreational, and other services to residents. Economic development, assist communities in creating or retaining jobs for low and moderate income persons, creation or retention of businesses owned by community residents. The economic development portion of the CDBG requires a dollar-to-dollar match. So if the county were to apply for an economic development project and request $500,000, there would have to be a match of $500,000. Emergency addresses life-threatening situations resulting from disasters or threats to health and safety, must have appropriate state agency concurrence. Local resources must be non-existent or unavailable. And that's the meet community development needs that I talked about a second ago. Planning. Grant assistance must be used for a comprehensive plan if there has not been a current or updated plan within the last 5 years. Feasibility studies, base mapping, aerial photography, GIS systems, development of codes and ordinances, and there's a limit of $50,000. The county does not apply for planning grants under CDBG because the county does not meet the low to moderate income percentage of 51% or greater. Colonias, communities must be 150 miles of the U.S.-Mexico border and be designated by the county or municipality where it is located. The criteria necessary to qualify are lack of potable water supply, inadequate sewage system, and lack of decent, safe, and sanitary housing. Ineligible activities include city halls or county courthouses, general operation and maintenance expenses of public facilities. The only exception to courthouses and other county buildings such as let's say across the street, the building that houses the assessor's office is if the buildings are not ADA compliant and the funding is going to be used to bring buildings into ADA compliance. The term for that is the elimination of architectural barriers under the CDBG program. Housing allowance payments and mortgage subsidies, expenditures for political purposes, costs involved in preparing applications and securing funding are under the list of ineligible activities. Program requirements: applicants must conduct at least one public meeting prior to selecting a project to advise citizens of estimated CDBG funds available, types of projects available, obtain recommendations from citizens regarding community development and housing needs. A minimum of 3 meetings is recommended. Citizen participation must be encouraged with emphasis on low to moderate income persons by publishing public meeting notices in English and Spanish and using other means such as media or posting flyers in an effort to reach the public. Recommendations from the public are to be considered and the project is selected at an official regularly scheduled meeting of the governing body. Each CDBG application must address at least one of the 3 national objectives. First one being activities must benefit low and moderate income persons. The second one is prevention of slum and blight. And the third one is must meet urgent or life-threatening community development need. Application requirements. Application requests are limited to $500,000 without certified cost estimates or $750,000 with certified cost estimates. Planning grants are limited to $50,000 and applicants may also submit a phased request. Actually, it's a requirement. We can't apply unless we apply for a full phased project and a phased project. Anyway, applicants must meet threshold requirements. Any grantee with one or more active grants in the infrastructure, public service, capital outlay categories, and Colonias projects cannot apply for additional funding until the current project is fully closed. Rural applicants, a rural applicant has 3,000 or less population, must provide a minimum 5% cash match. Non-rural applicants must provide a 10% cash match. Applicants may request a waiver of matching requirements in the absence of local resources or apply for a loan to meet the matching requirement at appropriate interest rates. Applicants are scored by rating certain criteria such as description and need, benefit to low to moderate income persons, leveraging citizen participation, planning, feasibility and readiness, user fees and revenues, and cost benefit. The Community Development Council will also take into consideration current economic situations if the entity was funded last year and application presentation. And we have no current CDBG project, and our last CDBG project was a Salvinoso Road and Drainage improvement project 3 years ago, I believe. Are there any questions? What I would ask for now is that the County Commission entertain any public comment in regard to a project. One of the things, this is our third hearing. We did have one at night, which was our first one. And we actually had a few projects suggested, the Country Acres Road and Drainage, the Tri-County Family Justice Center improvements, the East Pecos wastewater system, I believe San Jose Fire Department. We also did have someone that inquired about the Samaritan House. That's inside the city, though. The county manager, I think at our second public hearing, recommended the Tri-County Family Justice Center and or the Country Acres subdivision. So county staff has sort of looked at those two projects. So we would ask if there's any public comment, allow anyone to comment on a project.
Is there anybody here for public comment?
I'd like to throw in my request, Madam Chair. If I'm in order.
I have a, Madam Chair, I'm not sure, is this Richard? I have a question for Mr. Taboya. So are we going to discuss the projects you said, Country Acres and the Tri-County Justice Center? Are those the two we're considering, or is there, where are we?
Those are the two we're considering, unless someone else has a project in mind. We're going to ask the Board of County Commissioners to select one today. And I would like to make a recommendation for a project if I'm allowed to.
Did you want to make your recommendation before I make my comment, or shall I make
Go
ahead and make your comment and then make your recommendation.
Okay, and I brought up this question about 4 months ago, and with all due respect, Commissioner Garcia, I had asked, and Alex, I had asked about the Country Acres Road, if it was owned by the county, and the answer was yes. And I've heard that that has not been proven. So we have evidence of that action from the previous commission that, or on the public works side, that is actually a county road. I heard today in this meeting from people in here that is not actually a county road, which I asked, and I thought that that was already decided that it is. So I just want to make certain before we vote to move on that it is on there, that it was duly approved.
One of the requirements of the CDBG program, and it has to be included in the application, is site certification. And site certification means that the county has to provide the proper appropriate documentation that the county does own either the building or the roads are a county road, things of that nature. When Country Acres subdivision was approved by the city and the county back in the early 1980s, I believe it was. The reason I say city and county is because it's located within the extraterritorial zone, so the application had to go before both entities. City water was provided because there was an easement through the property, and at the time I served on the city council when we heard that application, and the developer dedicated the roads within the Country Acres subdivision to the county as county roads, and the Board of County Commissioners at that time accepted them, and those roads have been listed on the county road log since 1984. So we are able to provide the documentation for site certification. So yes, they are county roads. Yes.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Varela, I hold in my hand the 2016 San Miguel County Road Law. Looking at page 19 and 21, it states there that I'll pass it down to you so you can see that.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Madam Chair, if I'm in order.
I think Alex had something you wanted to say. You had a comment you were going to make?
Not yet.
If I'm in order, I'd like to recommend consideration of the Country Acres subdivision. You know, we have gone through the public hearings, as Mr. Tafoya has noted. There's been evidence identified and shown and proven that this subdivision is within the qualifications that are being asked for with the CDBG application, including being county roads that get adopted every year by the county commission and submitted to the New Mexico Department of Transportation. And so if I'm in order, I'd like to recommend consideration of the Country Acres subdivision. There's 2 streets, right, Alex? Not the entire subdivision. There's two specific streets that are identified. If you can name those 2 roads, I'd appreciate that.
Actually, 4.
4 roads, okay.
What we did in regard to Country Acres, first of all, is we had to determine if it was an eligible project based on low or moderate income. We went out and visited all the houses, sort of like what the census people would do, except we don't have the luxury of asking them to fill out their forms online. I got to know every dog, Country Acres in an intimate manner. And one of the dogs wasn't very friendly, so I even smashed my thumb on the car door. My little granddaughter told me that's what you get. And we need to meet the 51% low to moderate income. These numbers were confirmed yesterday by local government division, and the percentage of low to moderate income is 66.81%. So as in regard to Country Acres, we have an okay to submit an application. In regard to the Tri-County Family Justice Center, it meets the limited clientele categories, and we have an okay. The county manager, myself, and I believe it was Arnold Lopez went to Santa Fe, and we met with local government division and confirmed that Tri-County Family Justice Center would be an eligible project. So if I'm not out of order, I would ask that the Country Acres subdivision, the Country Acres road and drainage project be selected. We did run into one individual who refused to answer any questions, which was fine. There was a form we had to fill out. But the majority of the people, I think, were very cooperative. And time again, we were told that about the problems of the drainage and the mud and things like that. So I think it would be a worthwhile project. I would ask that resolution number 6-11-19-CDBG be adopted, indicating, and on your laptops there, you'll probably see the blanks because I couldn't very well put the project in there without getting authorization to do so. But we would ask that the project be selected, Country Acres Road and Drainage Project, and that we submit full project grant application in the amount of $750,000 and a phased grant application in the amount of $500,000. And then I'll finish up the resolution if that's adopted and circulated for signature by the County Commission Chair.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Nahad?
make a motion that resolution number 6-11-19-CDBG, country acres project be approved.
Motion by Commissioner Nahad,
Second.
second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Do you have a motion to get out of CDBG public hearing?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia,
Second.
second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're back in regular session. Item number 7, process to abandon and adopt county roads. Presenter, this is Mr. Alex Tafoya for informational purposes.
Dave.
Romero. Before we move on, I want to do a roll call vote for the 6-11-19 CDBG grant. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Madam Chair, the form that I think it's a wise decision to have a roll call vote. It's not absolutely clear whether it is necessary, but better to be safe than sorry. So if we could have just a motion approving the report and taking the action, and a second, and then we'll go through a roll call as applied to the previous report.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve 6-11-19 CDBG?
So moved. Make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Nahad,
Second.
second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Can I have a roll call?
Wait. Oh, I'm sorry.
We had already voted.
He says that he wants a roll call.
I'm asking for, did I hear the roll call exactly?
Yes. I asked for a roll call vote.
Okay. Was everybody's name called and then they voted?
No, he's going to call now.
Oh.
Commissioner Chris Nahar,
Yes.
Commissioner Max Trujillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Janice Varela,
Yes.
Vice Chair Harold Garcia,
Yes.
Madam Chair Maria Martinez.
Yes. Thank you. Now we'll move to item number 7. Process to abandon and adopt county roads. Presenter, Alex Tafoya.
Yep, the purpose of this is just to advise the Board of County Commissioners on the process to abandon county roads or even adopt county roads. So we just have a real brief presentation. What I handed out are 2 items. One is state statute 67-5-1 through 67-5-21, which is Article 5, vacation, alteration, and establishment of county roads and bridges. And I also handed out our resolution number 12-13-2001-PW, which sets the county's minimum road standards. And the process to vacate, alter, and establish a county road and bridge is set under New Mexico State Statute 67-5-1 to 67-5-21. New Mexico statutes annotated Article 5, vacation, alteration, and establishment of county roads and bridges, which statute has its roots under the laws of 1891 and provides the procedures and requirements a county road must follow in regard to vacating a county, the requirements a county must follow in regard to vacating a county road, altering an existing county road, establishing or adopting a road as a new county road, alteration of an existing road, and the laying out of a new road, the process under which a petition is filed, and the duties of the road viewers and the duties of the Board of County Commission. So the process that we use for roads, bringing road petitions to the Board of County Commissioners for consideration is set by state statute. There's a variety of public roads. There are private roads, public roads, state highways, and county roads. And private roads are the most difficult to distinguish from county public roads. A private road may be a road used by the general public, but which has not been formally adopted by the county legislative body as a county road. The same thing goes for city streets. Resolution number 12-13-2001-PW, minimum road standards, which was adopted by the Board of County Commissioners in 2001, establishes the criteria for new roads. The county road viewers use this criteria when conducting a road viewing and making recommendations, as per state statute, to the Board of County Commissioners in regard to abandonment of a road as a county road, or in regard to possible adoption of a road as a county road. So they actually go out and take the resolution with them, fill out a form, a recommendation form that the county uses, and one of the things they look at, does that road meet the county minimum road standards. In regard to a request by residents to adopt a road as a county road, a road petition is completed which requires a brief description of the road and signatures of 10 freeholders who reside along the road or use the road as access to their homes or property. A freeholder is a person who holds title to real property in fee simple. In some U.S. counties, a freeholder is a registered voter who owns local property and has been a resident for a specified length of time. Our state statute does not appear to define the term freeholder, although it refers to freeholders. Once a road petition is submitted, county staff submits the road petition to the Board of County Commissioners at a regular commission meeting and requests approval to have the county road viewers hold and conduct a public road viewing, and there are reasons for this request. First of all, it initiates action of the road viewers to act on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners. It serves to informally advise the Board of County Commissioners that there is a request by residents that may have an impact on the county budget, and it authorizes county staff to utilize county funds for purpose of publishing and providing notice of a road viewing. Upon conclusion of the public road viewing, the road viewers then submit their report of the road viewing by utilizing a prescribed form. The Board of County Commissioners then considers such road viewers' report at their next regular meeting after the filing of the road viewers' report. And the regular meeting, the road viewers' report is summarized by county staff, and then a public hearing is held. And the county commissions determine whether or not the road shall be established and open for for travel. And the same thing goes if a road is being abandoned. It's the same process. The Board of County Commissioners can direct the road viewers to include in their report, and that's the purpose of asking the County Commission for authorization to conduct a road viewing. because the Board of County Commissioners can direct the road viewers to include in their report an estimate of the cost of opening the road, an assessment of the damages and benefits accruing to any persons by reason of alteration of the road, widening of the road, changing of the road, or laying out the road. The statute is very detailed and provides that it is the duty of the Board of County Commissioners, if in their opinion the public good requires it, to declare the road as a public highway or county road. And the statute refers to roads as public highways. In determining the public good, the governing body may consider if the use of an item such as a road, or bridges as well, is not decided by the individual consumer but by the society as a whole, and which is financed by taxation. Thus, the need for a public hearing and considering the road petition. In regard to considering whether a particular road should be a public highway or a county road, the Board of County Commissioners may consider if adopting such a road is in the best interest of the public good in regard to society as a whole, or if it is in the interest of individual consumers. It is a consideration that should be made, the public good versus individual consumers, and that's one of the sections in the state statute, because the item, if it has to be repaired or whatever it is financed by taxation, which affects society as a whole. Since 1996, the county has addressed two types of road petition under section 67-5-4. The counties address discontinuance of a road, and under section 67-5-5, the county has addressed alteration or establishment of a road as a county road. So from the years 2000 to 2017, the county has held 38 road viewings and considered 38 road petitions. In the years 1996 to 1999, the county conducted 28 road viewings and considered 28 road petitions. And the reason I broke them up is because from 1996 to 1999, the road viewings were not held by the Planning and Zoning Office, but from years 2000 to 2017, the road viewings were held by the Planning and Zoning Office. So during that 21-year period, the county has had 66 road viewings. And I think one of the reasons the Planning and Zoning started handling the road viewings is because the county manager asked at that time, about who wanted to handle the road viewings, and I went to scratch my head, and he thought I was raising my hand. So that's how we started handling them, because I don't scratch my head at meetings anymore. So there's a process that we follow, and it's not something that was just dreamed up by county staff, and Mr. Garcia, when he was Public Works, was participated in many of the road viewings that we had, probably all of them. And it's a process that's set by state statute. So you have an independent group of 3 road viewers come and make their recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, and that recommendation is considered or not considered by the Board of County Commissioners. And then I think Mr. Lopez wanted to add a couple of things.
Discussing the process of doing this, both abandoning and adopting roads, I think we need to consider, our main considerations to be the financial impact of these roads. And if we do adopt a road, I think residents are going to expect it to get brought up to standards, and we need to consider if we're able to afford them and be able to provide these improvements that are going to be needed. For example, like Chem Drive is basically an improved road, and I believe the county paved that road at some part of a few years back, and it's still in pretty decent shape. there is some roads that, if we do consider adopting them, they will not, be too much of a financial impact. But then again, some of the other ones will require, some engineering and drainage and resurfacing, of course, And, our funding sources, this year I just received from local government our LGRF agreements today, and we received some monies, but not a lot of monies. And for road improvement, it's expensive. On our cap, we're going to receive 112,000, which is their portion, and then we'll have a 25% match on that. And our school bus, we received 63,000. Co-op are receiving $55,491. And again, they're low amounts. And these particular funds were dedicated to El Camino, possibly and hopefully we will not end up using them on that project, and they'll be available for some other improvement. But again, they're real small amounts, and not going to provide much improvement. But it is money, and that's just my recommendation, that we really consider the financial impact on abandoning or adopting roads, should I say. And I have made a list of roads that. In my opinion, again, this is just suggestions, good candidates possibly for abandoning, because, our thought at some point was, if we abandon some roads, maybe we could adopt new roads that are, heavier populated, that are going to serve, better to the public, to the traveling public. We have one in Varderito, which is County Road 59. That particular road, it just serves properties, and one of the property owners from there gated this particular road, and his intention has been, when you guys are in the area, let me know and I'll go and unlock the gate, and you guys could maintain it, and I think like that particular road would be a good candidate to abandon, because it's just serving his needs and it's not available to the public. We have the Conchas Ranch Road, which is pretty much privately owned, the whole portion of it, and I've talked to managers of the Conchas Ranch, and they're in favor, or would at least consider the abandonment, and for their reason being that then they could secure their property. They'll be able to gate it, lock it, or whatever they see needed. But the list that you see in front of you are just some roads that I thought might be good to consider, abandoning them if we follow the process, and if it meets all the requirements, we'll have to go through them in detail. But this is just for information and for input from you all. If you could give us some direction, comments,
Madam
Chair, Commissioner Varela.
I have some comments, and I'm glad to see Dr. Minor, thank you. And yeah, you bring up an important point, is before we can adopt any roads, we have to consider the financial implications. We have over 500 miles of roads in the whole county, and we're all call me, and then I call you, and people are asking for gravel, and people are telling me, can you come and their county roads, maintain this road, bring material, and the material out to the far west end of the county where my roads are. Sometimes we don't get all the materials we need. So I appreciate the work that's been done out there, your diligence, I appreciate it, but there's still more to be done. And then I get the comment of, why should we even have to call and ask you? You should already have these roads on your log and have a schedule to maintain them. Now, I remember if I read someplace that the county, our obligation is to maintain our roads like on an annual basis. Is that something that's on there, but we can't?
And it's funny, when I first came on, I thought it was a matter of making a actual schedule, and being able to follow this schedule. And I think Commissioner Garcia probably could second it too. It's impossible to follow a schedule because you don't know what weather's going to do and where it's going to impact, and where it's going to be more needed, and emergency response and all kinds of factors, in between here and there that I was lucky that I didn't even keep the schedule, the first month. It fell behind so rapid just for the demanded needs in other locations, due to weather and whatever comes up, we can, it just.
I completely understand, and that's when people call me when it's money, I said, well, the whole county's money. I'll let her know and you'll be on the list, but, understand that they're very busy. So people, that's, at least I can say that. And people most of the time understand that. People want what they want. But anyway, with the needs that we have on the roads and the financial costs and the East Pecos water crossing, we did get some funding for engineering, but, we have a lot of roads, I know, and you know more than I do. There are some roads out there with some really critical needs for public safety, like that East Pecos Road, that before we go adopt new roads, unless there's a good reason, I know there's a whole petition process and so on. I don't know, I advocate for taking care of the roads that we have first before adding any more.
And I would like to add to that. I remember we had spoke that we weren't going to adopt any roads until we had abandoned some roads due to the financial burden that it would take on us. So I thought that's what we were doing, unless something has changed and we're doing something different. But to my understanding, we were going to abandon roads before we could even think of taking on more roads, because we're having a difficult time keeping up with the roads we have now. Therefore, why are we going to adopt roads that we possibly can't upkeep?
Yeah, and I know, Glenwood Estates is going to come up here in a while, and I mean, that's a really good candidate, has a lot of people there. It serve a good purpose if we're able to adopt it and able to do the improvements on it. And personally, I'd love to see that happen on a lot of our roads. Personally, I do feel for the people having to deal with these bad road conditions, and but again, I guess just the financial impact of it is what we really do need to consider. I agree.
Sure, and thank you. And I know that there's a need, and I don't even know where Glenwood Estates is or subdivision. I see it's a subdivision, and this is happening. It happens all over the state. It happened even in Pecos, where they were that road to that trailer park, and people wanted coming to maintain it. It turns out it's a private road, and there was an agreement with the developer of that trailer park, that subdivision, and the village of Pecos that the developer was going to maintain the roads. And I know this happened in Rio Rancho. There was flooding, it was on the news, and the residents expected that the town of Rio Rancho was going to fix it when it was subdivision. The developer committed. They did the subdivision and they committed to, and it was their responsibility to maintain the roads. And then this happens, and I don't know what happened with Glenwood, but this is just a common thing with subdivisions, that they build them and then they expect somebody else to maintain the roads. And I just don't think we should let them off the hook that easily. They have responsibility there.
Yeah. The good thing about some of these roads, Glenwood Estates, for example, it's local, it's right here close to our crusher and our material, and it makes it a lot more doable than, some roads that are 50 or 60 miles away, because the transportation of materials and getting over there, impacts us quite a bit. We don't accomplish a whole lot in a day, when you have these other roads close by, like Glenwood Estates, for example. I would commit to using our resources, within our department and be able to do a lot of these improvements for that reason, because financially it's not going to impact us as much, as roads that are way over in the part of the country. But
materials out to Pecos sometimes because we don't have a driver, a truck, something, nos falta.
Yeah.
And we need to fill
Yeah,
that void first, is my concern.
yeah, and we don't use it, as an excuse. We will get the material there. It's just a lot slower process. Something that we could accomplish if it was closer in a couple of days might extend it to 10 days instead, for that reason. But,
Madam Chair,
Manager Martin?
can you give an update on this item? Vista de Vegas, Ronnie Road, Roger, can you give an update on those roads?
I think Alex probably has a little bit more information what happened there. I know they were, tabled at some point, and I'm not really sure what happened with
Those road petitions were tabled. There were, I think, 6 of them that the IT department at the time brought to the county commission for adoption into the road log as county roads, and part of the process requires a public hearing, and there was no one from the public at the county commission meeting to speak, either for or against those remaining 3 road petitions. So they were tabled, and then there were some changes in Public Works, changes in IT department and so on. And they're still pending, if you will. So myself and Arnold met with County Manager Martinez to determine, well, we still have these files here and we need to do something, either bring them back for consideration or just leave them tabled. But the reason they ended up getting tabled is because when we conducted the public hearing, there was no one here to speak one way or the other on those petitions. The other 3, I think, were, I think they may have been adopted as county roads. I don't recall right offhand what happened with the other 3. It wasn't my presentation at that time, those 3, so it's been a couple of years already.
Okay, does that conclude item 7? Any other questions, comments, or concerns? We'll move on to item number 8, road petition number CR-19-001. Presenter, Alex Napoya.
The county has received petition number CR-19-001. Those numbers, 19 indicate the year 2019 and the 001 indicates the first petition of this sort. From residents of the Glenwood Estates subdivision requesting that a portion of Harlan Drive be established as a public road, a county road, and request county maintenance, and that the length of that portion is 3/4 of a mile. So we would ask the Board of County Commissioners to authorize county staff to schedule a road viewing with our, a public road viewing with our road viewers.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Nahar.
on that, and I'm well aware, that's in Commissioner Trujillo's district. I get a lot of calls on this road. And I've seen the condition of that road, that main road, Harlan Drive, that goes all the way down, and then there's Olivia Road that parallels it. Also, there's a lot of site connecting roads. And there's quite a few, quite a large number of people that live there. Concerns are that it is a school bus route. There's quite a few, well, the road viewing, what I'm asking, I guess, is will the road viewing determine how many school bus kids there actually are in that area?
They'll look at that. First of all, the petition was just for Harlan Drive, and then secondly, they'll look at that. That's one of the categories on the form that they have to fill out if it's a school bus route, and most likely we'll contact the city schools to find out which road if the school bus driver uses that road.
The other day that it got real muddy, I received a text of a car that had gone off it got stuck. It's pretty bad. So I just wonder if we would establish how many people live there that would that would be I would consider that as part of the need for probably taking on that road.
Madam Chair, if I'm in order, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the proper scheduling of a road viewing as requested by Mr. Topoya.
I second that.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Nahar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 10, approval of contract Sauer Miller Associates. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. We're on 9.
Pueblo Fire.
Yeah, 9.
The county received legislative agreement number 19-D3152 for the amount of $100,000 to purchase and equip a fire truck for the Pueblo Volunteer Fire Department. So we would like to ask the Board of County Commissioners to accept the legislative agreement and authorize the Commission Chair, Maria Martinez, to sign the agreements on behalf of the county.
Motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Varela,
Second.
second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Item number 10, approval of contract for Sauter Mill and Associates. Mr. Gloria?
At its May 15th, 2019 meeting, the Board of County Commissioners authorized county staff to enter into contract negotiations with Sauter Miller and Associates for engineering services as needed. We provided Sauter Miller and Associates with contract agreement. We use a standard agreement from local government division, DFA local government division. They've reviewed it, provided their rate schedule, and we would like to ask the Board of County Commissioners to authorize the county manager to sign the contract on behalf of the county.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia,
Second.
second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 11, approval of contract with Stantec Consulting Services. Alex Sequoia.
Also at its May 15th, 2019 meeting, the Board of County Commissioners authorized county staff to enter into contract negotiations with Stantec Consulting Services for engineering services as needed. What we then did is, just like we did with Sauter Miller and Associates, we sent the standard agreement for engineering services to them for their review. We didn't get a response from Stantec, so Mr. Lopez and I spent, a week already trying to get a response from Stantec. We got one just after lunch this morning, after a couple of phone calls yesterday and today. Two things have happened with this one. The legal staff for Stantec has not completed their review of the agreement for engineering services, although they did submit their rate structure. And what Stantec did was submitted a different agreement for engineering services, not the agreement that we had sent to them. So we would like to ask authorization to enter into the contract upon completion of the review by Stantec legal staff with concurrence by our County Attorney Dave Romero. And because we don't know what their agreement says, they seem to prefer to use a different agreement, and we got it right before the commission meeting. We haven't even downloaded it and printed it out yet, so that we would like to do that, and then we'll come back at the July meeting and just advise the Board of County Commissioners of what the result was. But
Madam Chair, Mr. Tafoya? Well, would there be a problem if we waited to see, before we vote to approve a contract that we're not looking at? Could we wait until July to approve it then, or would that be a problem?
well, Mr. Lopez and I discussed that this morning because we had a feeling after talking with Stantec engineers that we weren't going to get a contract in time. And I suggested, well, let's wait until the July meeting, but I think Mr. Lopez has a different suggestion. I don't know if you may want to.
Well, my issue is we've been putting projects off till we get these engineers on board, and to get their contract signed. So, we're losing out on valuable construction time. This is the time of year that we should be in full construction, and all those projects are just on hold basically because we wanted to give other engineering firms an opportunity to give us proposals and hopefully get all these projects out, specified to different engineers and proceed with our construction on all these projects that are just sitting there pending. There's funding sources that have deadlines that we got to meet. So we do want to spend that money as soon as possible.
So this is for engineering services for those projects, correct?
Correct.
So do we have other companies out there that are going to bid, or just these people, and we're waiting to get the particulars worked out in the contract?
So we have one engineering firm on contract now, which is Miller and Associates. They're under contract currently. But we're entering into, and his contract will still, that particular contract is still valid, I believe, for what, 2 more years or something like that. And then, so basically the thought was to get, a total of 3 firms on board and then kind of compare, their pricing structure and all that, and utilize. We have a lot of projects, and it's hard for one engineer to do all the projects, so we do need other ones on board as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. So this is the second engineer, do we have a third one? Besides Sauter, Miller?
Yes.
and-
Yes, he'll be going through that one.
Do I have a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Nahara. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 12, approval of contract engineering consultant.
Also at its May 15, 2019 meeting, Board of County Commission authorized county staff to enter contract negotiations with Miller Engineering Consultants for engineering services as needed. They're our current engineering company, and what we would do is enter into a new contract, and it's the same contract. The rates haven't changed. It's also the same contract that Sauter, Miller and Associates will be using, although it's a little different than what Stantec is using. So we would ask approval to authorize the county manager to sign the contract.
Motion on the floor.
Motion to approve.
If I may, Commissioner Martinez and Alex, is there a relation between Miller Consulting and Sauter Miller?
No, they're two separate
Are they
firms.
2 separate entities?
Yes.
You're Miller.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Nahara.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Varela. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 13, authorization to enter into contract negotiations with NCA Architects.
The county received proposals from 4 companies in response to RFP number 2019-PZ-3 for professional architectural services for the San Miguel County Public Safety Facility. The proposals were evaluated by a committee that reviewed and scored. They worked independently and reviewed the proposals and scored them as follows. Hartman Majewski with 496 points, RMKM Architecture with 408 points, NCA Architects with 537 points, and Soleil West with 522 points. There were 6 county staff members that reviewed the proposals. So we're requesting authorization to be able to enter into contract negotiations with NCA Architects. They were the highest scoring company.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, Mr. Tafoya, if you cannot come to an agreement with NCA Architects, do you have to bring this back to the commission for the number 2? How does that work?
The state procurement code, and Melinda hopefully will help me if I'm a little off on it, allows the county to enter into contract negotiations with the highest scoring or the highest ranked firm. And if contract negotiations are not successful for a variety of reasons, cost or whatever it might be, then the contract negotiations with that initial company can be terminated, and then the county can enter into contract negotiations with the next, with the second ranked company. And so if that were to happen, most likely we would bring back to the Board of County Commissioners this item and request authorization to enter into contract negotiations with the second company. We just wouldn't start doing it on our own.
So we would have to wait another month to bring it back to the commission? Is there a possibility that if negotiations do not work, or do we have the option to go to the second? My point is, if it doesn't work out, then we have to wait another month and bring it to the commission.
Well, I guess that's something the commission would have to allow us to do, because we would still have to bring the contract back for final approval.
Correct.
So if we are not successful with NSA Architects and we start with the next ranked company, we would still bring that contract back to the county commission for approval. I guess we could do it that way versus asking the county commission, can we enter into contract negotiations with the next, because that just delays it actually a couple of months.
Right.
And we're sort of eager to get started on the project, so we don't want to delay it.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, so maybe the motion could be to award it or to work with the team, go to work with the second person, so with us. And like Alex said, regardless, next month is going to be a finalized contract regardless of who's rendered.
Do I have a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Nahar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 14, Fire Division updates. Presenter. Mr. Andrew Duran, Fire Chief.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Make sure this is working before we proceed. Today, I'll go over a couple of projects that we've worked on over the last few months. The first one is the Community Wildland Protection Plan. You should have a copy in front of you. What the Community Wildland Protection Plan has done is we hired, several months back, we hired Anchor Point, which is a consultant group that came in and they evaluated the last plan that was done in 2008. So they brought out their experts and they spent some time in our county evaluating wildfire risks throughout the county. There wasn't a lot of significant changes from 2008 to current, but they've, as we go through this presentation, you'll see a couple of things that they've done for us to identify and help give us the tools to look at where are there wildfire risks. Participating in this update was Office of Emergency Management, Fire Division, State Forestry, the Santa Fe National Forest, and of course Anchor Point. And of course the project area was the entire county. Anchor Point, in being out here, they traveled the county and identified communities. As you'll see in the map, all the yellow marks that they have on here are identified communities throughout the county, even if they're small communities, but those are identified communities. As I mentioned, there wasn't significant changes to the values from 2008, but they have identified that there has been some growth within some of these communities that have been identified. So some of these communities may have been out there before, but there has been some growth in some of these rural communities. Another thing that they have identified is there's been little improvement to existing structures that are affected by the risk of wildfire. So what they're telling us is some of the homes that have been here for a while, there hasn't been much improvement as far as construction to improve their fire resistive capability. Another thing that Anchor Point was able to do for us with the funding that was provided is they provided this web map interface that we'll share on our website, working with Diego. This web map interface will be on our website, and not only fire personnel can access this, but the general public can access this information. And as you zoom in closer, I'm not sure why it's not showing up on the screen here. Let me see if I minimize this. Still not showing up. I'm not sure why the actual map isn't showing up on the screen. One of the things that they were able to do for us is they created a map of the county, and they've identified all the areas throughout the county that have a fire risk, and they've rated all these risks. So with this map, we can zoom in on specific properties, and they gave it a rating from low to high to very high, defining what their wildfire risk is. So if we're going to go after some funding to help mitigate some of these wildfire risks, we can identify on our map the funding is justified because we've had this company identify which areas are at a higher risk. I'm sorry about that. This isn't coming up on the big screen there.
There you go.
So that's the map that they've created for us. From here, I won't be able to actually maneuver the map that Diego is showing now, but the map has polygons throughout the entire county, defining the risk for various areas. As you see, he zoomed in on the city of Las Vegas, and you'll see the different colors. There is on the top left-hand corner of the map, it'll have scales, and it'll identify. Diego, if you can click on one of the polygon colors down on the actual map. If you just click on it. So there it brought up that it's considered a wildland area, and it'll show what the risk is. A lot of these numbers may not mean a lot to a lot of us, but to the wildland professionals, these numbers mean a lot to them. And through this map, there's also a component called time until fire. And time until fire will tell us if a fire starts in this particular area, for it to reach from point A to point B, based on the fuels in that area, it's estimated that it's going to take this long to reach there. So that's helpful for our roads. So an example of State Road 65 going up towards Gainas, there's areas that it's telling us that if the fire starts in this specific area, it's going to take less than an hour to reach the road. So how does that help us? Well, then now we know that's a main evacuation route. So that's an area that we need to coordinate with state forestry or federal forestry. That may be our target area for thinning projects. So this is going to be some valuable information. This is something we've never had before. It'll be very valuable to, like I said, state forestry, U.S. Forest Service, and as well as property owners. Because there is available grants to private property owners to conduct some thinning projects on their private property. And this will be helpful to them to justify receiving some of those funds.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Trujillo?
Chief.
Yes.
So, I do insurance as well, and it's always, this has become a consideration by insurance companies, wildland fire rating. it was never an issue until very recently.
Yes.
So given the data that you have, and if we have an opportunity to mitigate fire time, or,
Yes.
time to fire, or whatever term you used, is that information given to this company, and will their map color change if some kind of mitigation as thinning occurred? Would that allow these guys to change the color on their maps to alleviate some of that burden from the consumer? Finally, the consumers are paying higher rates because the wildland fire rate is higher. They're getting denied insurance because of that. So if there's an opportunity to mitigate, can that happen, and can this map be altered?
Yes. So, unfortunately, I don't have full access, so I can show you. The map also shows where mitigations have taken place.
Okay.
So it'll outline where some of these mitigations have occurred throughout the county. And as we are working with Anchor Point, as I mentioned, State Forestry was part of this process. State Forestry mentioned to Anchor Point, we're conducting an actual mitigation in this specific area. They went in there and mapped it out to identify, okay, this area has been mitigated. So yes, we can update it as time goes on, and you're correct. I do get calls from insurance companies asking what's their wildland fire rating. That was never a thought before, but now it is. But in this map will give us specific areas. Say, for example, up in the Pecos Canyon area, it's going to identify where there's higher risks. So where we should concentrate through collaboration with the state and federal on conducting some mitigations.
I have a follow-up question to that, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Guerrero.
Chief Duran, are you working with the Forest Service, or is their data plugged into this system, or how does that work with the?
So this data is ours, but I've shared it with State Forestry, Federal Forestry. I've shared this information with them.
And do they share theirs with yours that can be implemented in this one too?
Yes, Federal Forest Service is actually working on a similar concept. They haven't completed theirs yet, but we do share information back and forth. Yes, this time, yes, we are.
Wow, that's impressive.
But we do share information, and this link to this website will actually be on our website. So even the private property owner can pull up their address and find out what their risk is. Some people may not want to know this, but it is going to be out there for anyone to research. So,
Will this be on our website where a resident can get on?
yes.
Great job.
Diego, if you can go back to the PowerPoint. Okay. So these monies were Title III USDA funds. The funds have built up over time, and we paid for a really good update on the plan to include this mapping interface. A couple of ideas that we've discussed to use the remaining funds that we have is to contract a person or a group to carry out some of the activities that are identified in the update, such as creating a fire-wise communities. So if we can secure either a person or a group, a company that can go out to these areas that are identified as high risk and meet with the communities and help them become a fire-wise community, and explain to them what is a fire-wise community. As Commissioner Trujillo mentions, insurance companies are looking at this, and I think we'll start seeing insurance companies that'll start giving a discount if you are a fire-wise community. I know definitely right now there is one insurance company that does that. So with these funds, we can hopefully contract someone to go out to these communities and spend time with these communities and help them become fire-wise communities. Another idea and what has occurred through other counties is the county purchasing a commercial type chipper so that a property owner, I think some of the resistance to doing some thinning is, okay, I trim my trees, now what do I do with them? So if we buy a commercial chipper and we can haul it out there and provide that service, and we just chip away a lot of this brush or trees that they've thinned, I think would help move in that direction to get property owners to mitigate some of their own properties.
Worthwhile expense.
We have, as I mentioned briefly at the past meeting, we're purchasing several fire apparatus for our county districts, and through different funding sources. The Sapio Rosada Volunteer Fire Department received a grant and required some matching funds, so we'll be purchasing a water tender tanker, if you will, for that department. That one is actually, we already cut the PO for that one. That one is already on order. And Pueblo Volunteer Fire Department, through different sources of grant, department match, and capital outlay funds, will also be purchasing a fire apparatus. Guyana's Volunteer Fire Department will be purchasing a fire engine for that department through capital outlay funds. The Cabo Lucero Volunteer Fire Department we're working right now to get a loan so that they can purchase a new apparatus. And of course, the ambulance that we talked about will be through capital outlay funds and local funding. The Sapio tender, this is a very good image of what it's going to look like. It's going to carry 2,100 gallons of water. The only difference is it's going to be all red with a white stripe rather than black stripe, but that's basically what it's going to look like. We do have this already spec'd out. The fire engines, that, as I mentioned, we'll be buying 3 fire engines. This is exactly what they're going to look like. They'll be 1,000 gallon. They'll have a 1,000 gallon tank and up-to-date technology on these fire engines. We've hopefully, if all the funding sources pan out right, hopefully we'll have all 4 of these apparatus hopefully by December, if we can get these orders in soon enough. And of course, the last one is the ambulance that we're looking at. This one, right now I'm still looking at different specs, but I think we're close enough to be moving forward to put in an order for this. This ambulance will service the Pecos area, I-25, Ro, San Jose, Rivera, Villanueva. This ambulance actually gets dispatched out of Santa Fe, so it covers all of from the San Miguel County line, working its way towards Las Vegas. Meets halfway with the ambulance that goes out of Las Vegas. And the last project that we're working on is the hazard mitigation plan update. The hazard mitigation plan is a plan that identifies natural hazards in our community. We had our first kickoff meeting recently. I believe Leo invited approximately 50 stakeholders to this meeting, and about half of them showed up. So we had a successful meeting. We had discussion about a public survey that's going to be published and how we're going to try getting that public survey out so we can get public feedback. With the group that was here, we had they did a project so that we, from the group itself, identify what are the most serious hazards for our community. So it kind of gave us an idea, and I think the one that was ranked number 1 was wildfire. That was the number 1 hazard that the group here saw as a priority. Once the survey is finalized, we'll look at different avenues on how are we going to get that survey out. A couple of ideas is putting a link on our website, getting it on Facebook. We do have some events coming up, some large public events. We have the 4th of July Fiestas coming up soon. Maybe setting up a booth and trying to collect surveys. It's about a 18-question survey. We try to make it not so lengthy, because, you start filling out a survey and after a few questions, I don't want to do this anymore. So we're looking at getting some good feedback from the community. I hope we do. And as the process moves forward, this company will create a draft for us and we'll work through that draft. The draft has to meet specific criteria that Homeland Security and FEMA approve. Once we have a final draft, we'll send it to the state for their approval. They'll send it to FEMA for their approval. Then it comes back to us, and then we'll bring it to the commission for adoption. And then the other jurisdictions within the county have 1 year to also adopt this mitigation plan, which would be the City of Las Vegas and the Village of Pecos. And that's all I have on updates. If you have any further questions.
Are there any questions? Thank you, Mr. Duran.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief.
Good, Chief.
Now we move on to item 15, review of ICIP 2021 through 2025. Presenter, Mr. Alex Tafoya.
The county is developing its ICIP plan for 2021 to 2025, and all we're doing today is just presenting the list of projects. There's 44 different projects on the list that we'll bring back in July for final approval. The total cost of all these projects is $15,113,500. And we're just bringing it just for information right now, comment. We'll make it available on the county website so the general public can take a look and see what's on there, submit their comments if they have any. And also it's an opportunity now for the Board of County Commissioners to maybe add or remove projects. We're not asking for any action to be taken now. The ICIP needs to be adopted by resolution, and we'd like to do that in July because it is due in September, and it's a very time-consuming process to enter all these projects into the required format. So with that, if there's any questions or comments or...
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Commissioner Garcia.
Mr. Tafoya, I'm looking at the list that's provided, and you've got as number 2, Public Works, Heavy Equipment and Accessories. Is that a duplication of the current ICIP, or is that something new? And if we're looking at...
That is one of the things that we've learned with this last capital outlay, with this last legislative session in capital outlay, is how we develop our request for capital outlay. So the Public Works, Heavy Equipment and Accessories, the accessories would be things like, let's say a snow blade or something like that for a truck, is just a renaming of our current ICIP item that's on our list now. We're just changing the name a little bit because we want to be able to make sure that if we do receive any money, that we can use it for other things besides just equipment, the accessories that are needed for that equipment.
Okay, and then the same one for number 4, Buildings and Grounds, Repairs and Improvements. And the reason I ask on this one is because I was asked by the district attorney to visit with him, and it's regarding their HVAC system. You know, that building, if I recall, we remodeled that building. It used to be the public health building, and we turned it into a DA building. And at the time, it's been about 20 years that we did that. And the HVAC system is a system that you have to turn in the summertime. You have to turn the heater off and turn the air conditioner on. In the wintertime, you have to do the opposite. And I know that when I was here, there was times that I'd get asked to turn the air conditioner on, and we'd be gone for a weekend, and they'd come back, and the room, there had been, the weather changed over the weekend, they'd come back and the room was cold. And they'd ask us to go back and turn the heater on, and it was a big process for us to take, because you have to, different switches and stuff like that. So I'd like to, I don't know how the manager feels about that, but I think that the district attorney has been in touch with him as well, and I think Melinda has been contacted as well, because they've called me and they told me that they did. That's gonna be, right now the district attorney hired a consultant to evaluate the system. So without knowing what the actual proposal is going to be, it's estimated between $500,000 and $600,000. And the district attorney was recently interested in giving the county, I think, $250,000 towards that improvement. So I'd like to have that included if it's appropriate as part of the priority projects. And then one more thing, can we do the same thing if you're doing the same thing with heavy equipment and accessories? As we all know, roads is always the #1 topic when it comes to legislative requests. And I noticed that none of those we don't have anything listed as the top 5 with regards to roads. And I know that in my district, if you ask me what I'm gonna want from the legislature, one of the things I'm gonna ask for is roads. And I'm sure the other commissioners are gonna do the same. So I'd like to have that as one of our top priorities, because when we went to the legislature this year, our legislators were asking us what position our projects played in the ICIP plan. And so, they get asked by DFA whenever they present their, on our behalf, they get asked what role we play on the ICIP plan, and I think that it's important that we include roads as one of our top ICIP priorities.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I agree with Commissioner Garcia that the problem that we're running into, for example, at the last session, we requested 168,960 for story projects, and we only received 50,000 in capital outlay. East Pecos B51A, we requested 325,000, but then we only received 50,000. And then for Guidance A27, we requested 140,800, and again, we only received 50,000. In Pandarays, we requested 337,920, and we only received 25,000. And then in B26C, we requested 480, and we only received 100,000. The only issue that we're running into is when we request money through capital outlay, they're only giving us a small portion of that. That's the concern. Last year, the legislature did not fully fund the road projects. Now, we did receive money from DOT, but that's an issue. For example, I know in Pecos we received 50,000, but there's not much we can do with that. I don't know if Mr. Arnold Lopez, if you have anything to say about that. It's just, it puts us in a tough situation when we request. We know roads are expensive, but when we have roads as our top 5 priority, and then we only get a small amount, it's a tough situation.
And I think what we discussed in our approach was going to be, instead of like itemizing roads, just do it in general, like road improvements. So that way, whenever we do get the funding, we could choose like a specific project, and instead of having all these little, amounts, 25,000, 50,000 here, we could dedicate it to one significant project. And I think that's why we did that also with equipment. Before we had it broken down to, say, tractor, truck, trailer, and roll-off bins, and we had it all specified. So they did fund little portions of it, and that puts us, it puts actually a financial burden on us, because now, in order to purchase that piece of equipment, we got to seek additional funding. And it was a little bit difficult. We were able to do it for this last year, but I know in the future, having to depend on seeking other funding might be a big impact for us, no? So if we keep it like this, and roads, I agree, I mean, their priority, it's always a big issue, no? But not specifying exact roads is the best approach, I think, and then just go for a big amount. And if we end up with, 300,000, at least we can do a significant project somewhere.
Madam Chair, and then I'd also, it's not just for legislative process, it's also for CDBG, it's also for any type of funding that the county requests that is connected to the state being involved, because it's a state ICIP process that we take. So it's not just going to be an impact at the legislature. So by the time it's all done, if you look at the top 5 funding resource that we got, we're exceeding $1 million in road projects. If you combine CDBG, if you combine local government road funds, if you combine capital outlay, by the time, let's say that we do apply for 750 for country acres, and we have, you just submitted a resolution for over $1 million through the DOT. All of that is taken into consideration through the ICIP process. So by the time it's all done, the biggest funding that we're going to get is going to be roads.
Right. And Commissioner Garcia is exactly right. They do utilize this list for a lot of purposes. Right now, for the additional funds that we're requesting through DOT, that's one of the questions is, are they on your list? These projects, are they on your list? And I've talked to him, and it's not going to really impact the decision, but if they were on the list is always a plus. So you're right. I mean, having a list of particular roads is wise also.
Madam Chair, how many roads do we have on this list? It seems like there's a significant amount of roads.
Yeah, there is. But like Mr. Garcia was saying, they're way down on the priority. And I don't really know what the process is if they go down the list. I know last year some of them weren't in the top priority, and they did get funded, so.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Varela?
Yes, and you're right, and this is very typical with capital outlay funding, is they don't always give you everything you ask for. I did ICIPs for seconds, for dozens of them, a couple hundred of them. And any entity requesting funding, more than likely is not going to get all of it for capital outlay, like for the ambulance, for example. So I was wondering if the ambulance should be on here, or if we know what's going to be funded by other sources when we looked at, are the roads, or all these roads on this list, on that same list there? And if we do general roads in general in one lump sum, is it going to cut, what's the process going to be for me to put my roads in there versus another commissioner? How do we get through that?
Right.
And then another comment too is that we're going to continue to see individuals going to their legislators and requesting capital outlay for their particular road and not through the county. And it's not going to be an RICMP. And this is very common. People and even legislators like for their constituents, sometimes some of them do, to be approached and ask for a favor so they can grant it. And other people are just like, no, there's this process and we have to follow that. But that's still going to happen. We're going to have individuals going to the legislature, and I want to get a handle on how we do that. And I said, well, we're going to all be competing. Maybe I should be holding capital outlay workshops in my district so my people can learn how to compete. But, we're all here together, and I just want to see how we can have a cohesive plan for addressing our capital needs and an ICIP. I'm not sure what that is, but.
What I might suggest is maybe if we put on the upper priority list a lump sum for road improvement, and then keep, on the lower priority, actual roads still listed individually, and then we cover our bases. I think that might be a good approach.
And then one more thing, Madam Chair. We just prioritized country acres for our CDBG submittal for $750,000. And if this becomes effective September the 1st, we're probably going to be attending the hearings right at that time for the CDBG, if I'm correct. And we're looking at Country Acres as being the number 13 project. And so I would suggest that that be moved up to maybe not the top 5, but maybe 6 or 7.
Well, this CDBG list would not apply to their current CDBG application. We have to submit the summary of our current CDBG, which does include the Country Acres. I think it's like number 6 or 7 on the current list. So, because this won't go into effect until November of this year.
Excuse me, I thought we were going to be done with Country Acres after the last appropriation.
Country Acres could be a $2 million project, Madam Varela. It's a big project.
Any more questions?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Tafoya.
Okay. Thank you.
On to item number 16, out-of-state travel. Presenter, Matthew A. Elwell, Warden.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I'm requesting out-of-state travel for myself, Matthew Elwell, to attend the National Conference on Correctional Health Care in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, October 12th through October 17th. I've been invited to speak at the conference on advanced technology solutions for high-risk inmates in rural detention centers. We received a grant 6 months ago to really look at release planning of those with mental illness through the use of telepsych services and transitional planning to include services not only in the jail but into the community. As part of our HRSA grant, the Health Resources and Services Administration grant, we've been recognized on a national level and again been asked to speak at that conference. So I'm asking your approval for the travel. This will be paid through our grant funds.
Warden, I'd like to say congratulations for being asked to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you
Madam
for
Chair, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Nahar, second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Next on the agenda, we move on to item number 17, statistical data, San Miguel County Detention Center Medicated Assisted Treatment MAT program.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, our medicated assisted treatment program has reached its annual point from May to May, and would like to share some statistical data with you. I'll be presenting next week at the Association of Counties, along with some folks from Rhode Island in their correctional facilities where they've really been working on MAT programs, and they're going to share some of their successes, as long as I'll be sharing our success with that. But I wanted to give you a little bit of statistical data so that if you're asked at the conference, what's your MAT program doing, how did you get there, you'll have some statistical data to share with them. We hired an evaluator, a local evaluator, DART. They're working in collaboration with New Mexico Highlands University, and they have produced an evaluation for us, and really based on 5 evaluation models. It's the Beck Depression Inventory, the Generalized Self-Efficiency Scale, the Rosenberg Self-Esteem Scale, the Stress-Related Questionnaire, and the Symptom Checklist. So in combination of all those 5 evaluations, they're taken at the beginning of their entrance into the program, and then at several stages throughout the program, and in conclusion of the program. So we got to remember, our program starts in jail and then continues 6 months in the community. What the evaluation shows is really several levels, and it really looks at the person from an internal prospect and a mental health prospect. How was their depression when they entered? What was their mood when they entered into the program, and what's their mood and outcome when they're leaving the program or during the program? And really, what it's shown is the biggest factors it's shown is that depression levels have gone down. So when they enter the program, they're really depressed. when they're on the medication and in and out in the community on the program, their depression level has gone down. So they're able to cope with things very easily. Their self-esteem, though, this is one that's kind of different. Their self-esteem was higher and it's lower as they go through the program. And really what that data shows was, yeah, their self-esteem was high, they're macho, they're in the program, they're feeling good, but now they have to come to realization that they really caused their own issues, and now they have to deal with everyday life. So that kind of increases. So their self-esteem went down. So those are the two factors that they've shown the most increase and decrease on in the program. As far as the medication themselves, they've shown very low side effect factors in the medication. So we were really looking at what does that cause the person to do from a physiological standpoint. And really what it's done is really none of those side effects have been of any substantial scale. But the big thing that it has shown is that the cravings for the drug, the opiate drug, is almost virtually nothing after the third dose. So they have some during the first, some during the second, and really what those effects are is really finding their days on the medication. So although it's a medication that says lasts for 30 days, some people's metabolism is quicker than others. So some may have to take it on that 21st day, 25th day. And once we find that scale, then their cravings virtually are gone. Our longest term person who's been in the community 8 months has received 8 doses. He has no cravings whatsoever for the drug and doing well. So it's really showing that those, once you get their levels and their metabolism down, that the cravings go completely down. So those are some of the things that affects the person. The data from the program itself is we've had 35 participants in the program. It took us about 6 months to really develop the program, get the model in place. So we've had 35 participants. Of those 35, 24 have continued the program. The rest have left the program either for reasons they violated our program rules, or it wasn't for them. They didn't want to be in the program. Three of the people went to DOC. Of the 24 that remained, 3 went to Department of Corrections, and we're still tracking them when they're released from the Department of Corrections. They may come into our aftercare program and continue with our medicated assistance program through our local doctor, Dr. Tafoya, who's giving the medications for us in the community. Three individuals removed themselves from the program, and 5 voluntarily left the program, and that makes up the 11 individuals who left the program. We had 14 individuals who actually went into the outpatient program. So they were in the jail, they were released from custody, they got their Vivitrol shot, and 14 people went out in the community in the program. 8 of those individuals are still in the program. One of our participants passed away in a car accident. Nothing to do with medications, nothing to do with criminal activity. He was in a car accident and passed away. 7 of those are males and 1 is female, and they're really doing well. We have our latest one that went out is now 2 months on the Vivitrol program. So from 8 months to 2 months are the 8 individuals on the program and doing very well. Of the 5 that left the program, 2 went to drug court and elected to go to a Suboxone MAT program in the community. They felt that was a better fit for them, which is good. We're not out there pushing one medicated assisted treatment. So they left our program to go to the Suboxone program and stayed in drug court. 3 of the others just virtually said they're not going to continue in our program, and they actually relapsed and recidivated and went back to custody. So what does that mean? That means 68% of those who participated in our program remained in our program and are actively participating in the program. Statistically, medication-assisted treatment programs around the nation are right around that 50%. So 50% of those that start continue the program to fruition. So we're about the 68%. It's still early. It's only a year of statistics. So as we get more and more statistics, we'll see how our program ranks to the other ones. The important thing to really see is that of the 14 who have been released, 5 have come back to custody. All 5 that left our program to go into a different program have recidivated. But that's a 35% recidivism rate when we're at 74% with everybody else. So just our small program that already cuts our recidivism rate almost 40%, so 39% cut in recidivism rate giving treatment to our individuals. So that's a huge success for the program thus far. And we'll continue to track that, because really recidivism looks at a 3-year span, and we'll continue to track that and see how it affects. But of the 8 that have not left our program and are still in the community, none have recidivated. So we have 0 recidivism rates for those who have stuck with the program and continue. So that's huge for our program. I'm happy to say we have been offered a $150,000 grant to continue our MAT program. We haven't received all the documents yet or the official award. Once we do that, I'll come back so you can accept that award. But we wrote into this model and working with the Department of Health folks on this initiative is really to hire another case manager strictly for the female population, so that we can really focus on gender-specific programming and program them just like we're doing the males. That should increase our female population. We're finding that as we evaluate the program, the needs of the female population versus the male population as far as treatment from a therapeutic standpoint is really different. Different needs, different stressors, different mental health needs, different things that they've faced in their lives, and it really needs to focus on the different genders. Unfortunately, you can't cookie cut treatment in this method. So we're pleased that this is moving fine. We're pleased that we did get a grant to sustain it for at least another year, but we'll continue our efforts in making a difference in combating our epidemic of opiate use. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alvo. Gordon. We'll move to item number 18, resolution number 06-11-19, RA01, addition of Riverview Road, a newly named private road named that will be added to the official E911 road list of San Miguel County, New Mexico.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, good evening. A resident of a private access road off Cinder Road in Las Vegas, New Mexico petitioned the county to name the driveway leading to the residence per San Miguel County Ordinance NMSMC 071399 ORD-2, Section 4.1-C. Proposed to San Miguel Board of County Commissioners, please review and take appropriate action on road naming for any private road that provides access to 3 or more buildings and requires a name in order to promote the health, safety, and welfare of the public. This name has been determined to be acceptable by SMC Rural Addressing staff per San Miguel County Ordinance. At this time, we ask for your approval of the road name Riverview Road.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Varela. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
And Madam Chair, with your permission, just want to make a quick comment on the census item we had earlier. We've been working with the census, specifically Lucas, since late 2017 and getting them all the information that they've requested. We do recognize and understand the importance of accurately reporting to them. and take it very seriously, and on a monthly basis, we are fulfilling our obligation to report any additions or omissions to that list. So we'll do whatever we can do to help to assist in publicizing or advertising the need to have our residents participate in that process.
And I was actually hoping we could put it on our website.
Absolutely.
Or if people wanted to apply for the jobs that are available, or, you know.
I'll get a hold of Ms. Azarate, and we'll do whatever we have to advertise it with the means that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diego.
Item number 19, Trash Amnesty Day. Presenter, Mr. Arnold Lopez.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, so we've had requests for a trash amnesty day. So I'm here today just for informational purposes and get input from you all. I might add that we're basically on trash amnesty from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the morning daily. The way our facilities are set up, no. And we do have a lot of people that visit us after hours and during their days off, no. But we've had some requests, and we're asking for input. I know if we do decide to have one, are we gonna leave it to selected items only and not wide open, or I don't know what your all input is on that, if you would, please.
I think that that's an awesome idea, and I think that it should be open to all and any items, because if not, we find them on the sides of the roads, we find them, you know, just thrown wherever. And I think that if people are given the opportunity to, you know, throw them on a certain day, then maybe we'll get it more in the trash where it has to be.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner.
I agree completely with what you're saying. And last year I got a call from a resident in my district that suggested this, and also even volunteered her own time and truck and services to go take the old couch off of the portal-reina viejita that doesn't have nobody. Because some people don't have anybody who can go take their trash or their couch or their chair or their washing machine that they have on the front porch. So, like, I agree completely with the chair that it'll end up in an arroyo or just maybe on the front porch. And if we could even coordinate an effort where, you know, sorry to make it harder for you. He's looking at me like, yeah.
No.
Yeah, and there was some discussion in Pecos on this item also, but I think that if we could coordinate it and people who can volunteer and step it up and make it an effort where, you know, for the whole county, and have that day and all of the centers, and then whoever, you know, not have to be, but if somebody does want to volunteer to help their neighbors, just to help get the word out and try to encourage that, a big cleanup on the county, I think that would be really good.
So when you mention the whole county, are you including even city limit Las Vegas residents as well, or?
I don't know, I'm just thinking about my.
Is it just county residents that have permits, basically?
People that have permits for yeah, that's a good point. What about the ones that don't? Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner
Mr. Lopez, I think it may be, you know, this is a great idea, and I fully support it. Might be just as good an idea to incorporate or cooperate with the city and have it on the same day they do, because they've had amnesty days, and they're very successful. They accumulate thousands of tons of stuff. I don't know how many open containers we have at the county that we might be able to put at our convenience centers. But, you know, get the word out that it's going to be on this day, and you know, our residents can dump on that day. I know logistically it's a big undertaking.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. Like you say, if we could coordinate with the city and have it on the same day, might kind of relieve us of everything going to us as well, you know, because again, we are going to have to financially support this. You know, mattresses anymore are pretty expensive when we go dump them, sofas, all that, tires, you know, are we going to allow them to bring tires as well? Different items, white goods, washers, dryers, you know, refrigerators. What are we opening it up to, no?
Sure.
Well, we'll leave that up to you to see what you come up with, because I mean, we might be able to speak with individuals that repair washing machines, and you know, are they willing to take some of that stuff to, you know, fix them and sell them?
Or what I'm thinking of, these recycle the people that buy metal, if somebody could come and sort of, to make it easier where like the washing machines and the machines that could maybe be recycled, you can just, have somebody come here on that day to pick up that stuff.
And so if I'm correct, you are thinking like staging these bins or additional bins at our facilities and no other locations, or what's your thought?
Like, what would you recommend?
And
you don't have to give us an answer now. It's just, we could all think about it and come back later and say,
For control purposes, I would recommend doing them at our facilities, because of course they got to be manned. If we leave them wide open, no telling what we'll end up with, and a mess, and finding the property that, because who knows what they're going to do,
No, I agree with you.
No, I'd like to suggest something. Mostly an amnesty day is probably going to be held over the weekend. So you'll have to make sure that you arrange with the landfill that the landfill is open that day. Otherwise, if you come Monday and you want to provide regular service, you're going to be in a crunch.
Well, the good thing about doing it on Saturday, say for example, and if we stage additional bins, most of our facilities would accommodate, a couple extra bins. I don't think we'll be overwhelmed, really, honestly, for the fact that, people have access to our facilities, pretty much after hours at any time, So I think we're gonna see more probably sofas, like you're saying, maybe, and mattresses and stuff like that, bigger items, that people are holding back for the reason of the cost of disposing of them. And I don't think we're gonna end up with too much trash other than, what we normally see. But we can do it if you'd like on a weekend, and then that allows us Monday to catch up with the demand, because our facilities are closed Mondays, and Monday usually is our catch-up day anyways. But we'll give it a try this time and see what we generate. I'm pretty confident we could handle the demand and the overflow on Monday and get back on schedule on Tuesday. That's a thought. Yeah.
You can do it, Mr. Lopez.
Right, yeah. So would you like to see that this summer as well, next month, couple months?
I would. I think that the sooner we do it, the better. Maybe we can start cleaning up our community. As you drive around. I do home visits sometimes for the program I work for, and you drive around and you see a lot of debris within our town, within our county. And that might stop people from coming to visit our county or our city because of all the debris that's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if we give our people an opportunity to clean up, we might get more visitors. I'd like to see it advertised probably on the optic, on the radio, on Facebook, as much publicity as we can get on it, because I think that the more people know, the better. On KNMX, KFUN, all the stations that our people normally listen to.
Right. Yeah, maybe we could get the optic too to advertise for us.
And at the same time, the individuals that are gonna take the time to volunteer, maybe on that day, maybe we can, some of us volunteer. I'd be willing to volunteer, to help, to maybe have a barbecue for these people that are working, something like that. Make it a day for everybody just to throw their trash.
Madam Chair, Mr. Lopez, I think it would be a good idea to even incorporate a cleanup day, a volunteer cleanup day. The city did one just a few weeks ago. They had over 100 volunteers.
Wow, that's great. It was a good turnout.
It was good. It was a really successful event, and it was on a Tuesday morning, and they did really well. I think we could coordinate that with all the people from the communities outside of Las Vegas, and I think that would be a pretty good event, and maybe just bring some awareness to some of the stuff that we see on a daily basis, that your guys see, having to go pick up mattresses on Cinder Road that were just dumped there for no reason.
Yeah.
Things like that. It kind of brings people's awareness that they shouldn't be doing that, So yeah, I think it might be a good idea to get the whole community volunteering to help us do this cleanup and.
Right. Yeah, the city, I think they had their amnesty day a couple of weeks ago. I saw it going on now, so, but I will check with them, and if, I don't know if they're planning any other ones this summer, probably not, but if not, we'll just go on ahead and host ours.
Well, thank you, Mr. Lopez. We'll move on to item number 20, Public Works Division Report for the month of May 2019.
Okay. So I'll keep this short, because you all have the list of where we've been and what we've done, but I'll just give you an update of where we're at. Basically, Johnny Trujillo has been over in the Mineral Hill area addressing still some winter damage, some roads that sustained quite a bit of damage due to the heavy rain or snows up in there, and then also the rains that we've had recently. Peter is over in Gonzales Ranch area addressing also some potholes basically and washboard on some of our county roads within that area. Juan Macias has been addressing a lot of the local stuff here. We had a special project over on A7 by the World College, small little road there. Real easy for us to get there with material, so we're able to provide some improvement there. And the crusher's running full operation. I authorized some overtime for the two operators there so we can produce more material and be able to get it out there to additional roads. I just wanted to share a couple of things with you. We're basically in the process of, if you look at the screen there, where I spec'd out some equipment, trucks. This particular truck here, we received capital outlay for a certain amount of it, and then we found additional funding, and we're purchasing this truck here. It's already been spec'd. It's already out. We're out for requisition for PO, and it's going through CES for contract. Hopefully we'll see that by the end of the year. That truck is going to pull this transport trailer right there. Our transport trailer that we currently have is an older model and getting pretty worn. Has a lot of issues already. So this trailer also is spec'd out, meets all our needs, and it'll be nice. We can respond to any part of the county safely, and whether it be in bad weather or whatever. It's a trailer that's going to bring a lot of good and accommodate a lot of our needs with public works. There's another view of it. That's a hydraulic tail, easy to load, safe for our operators to drive that equipment up there on it. So this truck right here, basically it's almost ready for pickup. I was there yesterday to pick it up. This is our service truck. If you notice, it's mounted with a welder. That's actually a compressor up on top there. On the other side, you have compartments for oxyacetylene. It's got spools for welding leads, cutting torches, airlines, really nicely equipped. It's got a lift gate on the back. We respond to flat tires, on our motor graders throughout the county, and that allows our crew to get out there and address any of those needs. You notice it's a 4-door. We have currently now a 2006, and there's usually 3 guys that ride in that truck, and the other one is just an extended cab. So luckily we have a smaller guy that rides the back. You could just imagine, not very comfortable, not very all that safe either, but this is a great asset to our department also. Hopefully I'll be able to pick it up by the end of the week. That's another view of it. That's the other side of it.
Nice.
Quite a unit there, huh?
Good work.
And that was actually purchased through some capital outlay from last year, right, Melinda? And then this is going to be, it's not going to be this particular truck, but it gives you an idea. That's a roll-off truck there for solid waste to carry our bins, from our facilities over for disposal in the landfills. Roll-off bins, if you've seen before on some of our pictures, we're in dire need of replacing, quite a few of our bins. So we got $20,000 to purchase some additional bins also that will be added to solid waste. Those ones we're waiting for the appropriations for those. As soon as we get them, I'll start procuring those and purchasing those as well. So, very nice equipment. It's going to help our department. We do have some equipment that's, it's old. We have one of our trucks actually that's a 2000 model, coming on 20 years old and getting pretty tired now. So if we keep doing this every year, we'll keep our fleet up and keep our operators safe out there.
Well, good job, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you. Any requests?
Thanks for that great job you did on County Road A7.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Next, we are on item 21, update for DWI program, Juvenile Justice Program, and MSG Comprehensive Treatment Center Initiative.
Good afternoon.
Mrs. Yolanda Cruz, DWI Coordinator.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. So with our DWI program, and this is an update of a few months because it's been a while since I've been up here with you. Our prevention specialists have finished their 8 and 10-week evidence-based curriculum delivery with the schools. So they were in all of the schools, all of the elementary schools, except for Pecos. We've had a little bit of, we haven't been able to schedule in Pecos. The schools, I know you're looking at me with the question look, so I'm going to answer the question before you ask. The schools haven't allowed us to go in there to do the whole curriculum delivery. I don't know if their schedules are packed. We'll continue to try to get in there every year. They do allow us to go do presentations, but the curriculum itself, which is evidence-based, is 8 weeks with elementary and 10 weeks with middle school or high school. So, yes, you can. Okay, I'll call you up and we'll try to schedule something. Thank you so much. So throughout the year, they did the curriculum with all 3rd through 5th graders in the county except for the Pecos schools. So that was over 1,500 students because then they also did all of the middle schools, so up to 8th grade with the curriculum. In the other schools and other grades, they did presentations with them. All of the evidence-based curriculum, the students are administered a pre-test and a post-test to measure the efficacy of the curriculum and of the curriculum delivery. We participated in the drug take-back event, alcohol-free proms, and other community events. And then with compliance, through March, April, and May, they had 23 new clients, including 3 that we got back from Sobriety Drug Court. So I don't know if you guys know about the Sobriety Drug Court program. It's like drug court, but it's specifically for DWIs, for misdemeanor DWIs. And so that's a very intensive program where people qualify if it's their 2nd or 3rd DWI, and they have to check in every day. They get drug tested every day. It's a really intense program. If they fail in that program, they come back to us. We're not that intense, and so these are more problematic clients. So it's hard for us to get them back because we can't provide that level of service. But we did get 4 back from them. So providing them the compliance. And then Michelle, our compliance monitor, attended 44 probation revocation hearings. So we have a caseload of about 200, and of those, she had to go to probation revocation hearings for 44. So we try to keep people compliant, help them be compliant. If not, then we file a notice of noncompliance, and then it goes to a probation revocation hearing. They don't actually revoke probation because it's a misdemeanor and they don't want to keep them in jail. It doesn't serve anybody any good to keep them in jail for the remainder of their probation. But they do go back to the judge and have to explain why they were non-compliant, and they usually get more sanctions. And so we try to get them, to see that the carrot is better than the stick and help them stay compliant. Safe Ride, we did lose our Safe Ride driver who also provided rides to the VA. Our driver was not able, his job changed and he was not able, his other job, he was not able to continue providing the VA rides. So we are currently looking for a new driver, and that's kind of what we're seeing with some of the applicants is that they are not able to, they're willing to do the weekends, but they're having a harder time trying to figure out the veteran portion. And I think part of that is because we're not offering a whole lot of hours there. It's just, a couple hours, a few hours, a few days a week for that one. but we are continuing to try, and we will find the right person. Also, we had a call from the organizers of Bean Day in Wagon Mound asking if we would be able to partner with them to provide safe ride services. I pointed out that that's not in our county, but they said that a lot of people travel from San Miguel County to Wagon Mound for Bean Day, and then a lot of people who come from out of town, like who have family in Wagon Mound or they were from there, they'll stay in hotels in San Miguel County and then travel back and forth. So it improves the public safety in both counties. Mora County does not have Safe Ride, so I approached the Mora County DWI program to see if they would want to partner, and if they did, would they cover part of the costs. They said that they would be willing to do that, so I wanted to bring that to you guys too, and we'll bring it again once we know a little bit more for your approval, but I wanted you at least to have a heads up of that and of that discussion. Law enforcement have also been active. They have done 2 checkpoints, actually 3 after this was written. They've done 3 checkpoints. State Police did 2 and City did 1. And then they are also doing a lot of saturation patrols. And we've been assisting with letting the community know and providing some support and providing items to assist them with DWI enforcement activities. We've been partnering with the Sheriff's Office and Fire for outreach. And then members of our team have attended the New Mexico County's legislative update, the Grant Council meeting and implementation training, the county retreat, economic development symposium, the active shooter training, CPR train the trainer, and the statewide compliance ad hoc meeting. We also hired a position which is part-time office manager for DWI and then part-time youth case manager for the juvenile justice. So kind of moving into the juvenile justice part. The programs that we have are Girls Circle, Boys Council, and Restorative Justice, and violence and substance abuse prevention. So we have been meeting with the JPO's office, West Las Vegas, Robertson High School, Judge Baca, City Police, and Kids Counseling, and we're scheduling a meeting with the PECO schools to see how we can better work with them. And so some of the things that we're doing is really trying to work closely, especially with the high schools. What we're hearing, like from JPO, is that some of the schools don't refer at all to them, and other schools refer for almost anything. So if, let's say, an altercation, if the kids get in a fight, they'll get a referral to the JPO's office. But they go through law enforcement. So law enforcement is called, and by the time the referral gets to JPO, it's 3 or 4 months later. So by that time, either the kids are friends or they've forgotten why they were, upset, and it's kind of hard to have, it's hard for them to work with it, to kind of just figure out how to fix what's going on. So we're working with the schools so that we'll be that first resource in order to help refer them to the restorative justice, which is like a mediation program, or some of the other programs, not just with altercations, but with other issues that are really minor things that probably they don't need to get a record at JPO's office for. And we're working with, again, JPO's office and the City Police to kind of determine what are things that they would like us to be that first resource for. So through juvenile justice, I did attend a 2-day coordinator meeting in Las Cruces and a 2-day juvenile justice equity workshop in Ruidoso. And then with the opiate initiative, we had another community forum, and we screened the providers in Las Vegas. We held a community meeting in Mora, and Highlands University collected over 200 community surveys, and the committee is developing a youth peer curriculum, and then we're also working on a sustainability fund, a sustainability plan, and a funding plan. And looking at, I think they, through that, they're also working with an architect to kind of develop what that might look like. So I ask that you keep those in mind for, maybe next year for some of the public funding that might be available to assist with that. I think that's about it, unless you guys have any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Yolanda Cruz. Next, item 22, LDWI fiscal year 20 grant agreement. Ms. Cruz?
Thank you. So through New Mexico Department of Finance, all DWI programs are awarded a distribution fund. In addition to the distribution fund, we're able to apply for grant funds, and we were awarded $36,000, I believe, for the grant. And so that will help cover our prevention component. So I just respectfully request that you approve accepting the $36,000.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Cruz.
Thank you, Madam
Item
Chair.
number 23, subcontract agreement for juvenile justice service, violence and substance abuse prevention services with Somos Familia, restorative justice services, Girls Circle and Boys Council with Arm and Hammer United World College.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, last year we received the CYFD contract for the juvenile justice program, and the services that are being funded through there are Girls Circle, Boys Council, restorative justice, and substance abuse and violence prevention. With that, we did seek quotes for those services, and we had agreements with these agencies to provide those services. And so we did have an option to extend those for 5 years. So at this time, I would like to extend those contracts for the next 5 years.
Do I have a motion on the floor to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Nahar,
Second.
second by Commissioner Trujillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cruz. Number 24, resolution number 2019-0611, clerk designating the location of election day polling places for all statewide election conducted in 2020 and 21, county canvassing board duties through the end of 2021, and appointing the board of registration members for the county. Presenter Geraldine E. Gutierrez, County Clerk.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Ms. Gonzalez, Dr. Martinez, Mr. Romero. Like Madam Chair said, I am here to present a resolution number 2019-06-11, and this is designating the location of election day polling places for all statewide elections conducted in the 2020 and 21, and appointing the Board of Registration members for the county. And this consists of 4 voting centers, the VCCs. They're called the Voting Convenience Centers, which consist of Mike Marr Gym, the West Las Vegas Gilly Lopez Gym, the Valley Junior High School Gym in the Rivera El Pueblo area, and Pecos High School Gym in Pecos. And I have 10 traditional precincts: the Rociada Fire Station in Rociada, Mike Mateo Elementary in Sapeo, Bernal Community Center in Bernal, Trujillo Schoolhouse in Trujillo, Conchas Fire Station in Conchas, the Sheridan Fire Station in Ojitos Frios Road, home of Manuel Tenorio in Tecolotito, San Juan Community Center in San Juan, Tecolote Community Center in Tecolote, and Trementina Fire Station in Trementina. And we are appointing the Board of Registration also for this year's also. And I would like the Commission's approval for this resolution.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Varela.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nahar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Item number 25, bank transfers for the month of May. Informational purposes only. Ms. Bertha Bustamante, County Treasurer.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
First of all, I want to thank Melinda. She's been carrying my presentation for the last 3 months, and she was able to have this printed out for you on your laptops. If you have any questions, I'm here today. If not, thank you very much.
there any questions? Thank you.
Good to have you back, Madam Treasurer.
Good to see you again, Bertha.
Item number 26, Resolution 2019-06-11 F2, Capital Assets. Presenter, Ms. Melinda Gonzalez.
Madam Chairman and Commissioners, the resolution adopting policies and procedures for capital assets, whereas certain funding requires grantees to establish and adopt a capital asset policy on an annual basis. Whereas such policies and procedures must be adopted by resolution and approved by the appropriate governing body. Whereas the policies and procedures for capital assets, C1 and exhibits as well as the policies are hereby approved part of this resolution.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Nahar.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Varela. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 27, Resolution 2019-06-11 F1 Procurement. Presenter, Melinda Gonzalez.
Madam Chair, and Commissioners, this also is another policy where we're trying to adopt it on an annual basis. There was some items in this particular policy and actually policy that changed a little bit, giving the process.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Garcia.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Varela. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 28, receipt report for the month of April 2019.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is for informational purposes only, and it's all of the receipts that were received by our treasury officer on this date.
Any questions? Item number 29, journal entry report for the month of April 2019. Melinda Gonzalez.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this also is for informational purposes, and these are $5 journal entries that were made into our system for the month of April.
Item number 30, resolution 2019-06-11 F3 indigent.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is a resolution regarding change in healthcare. It's, this fiscal year, as mentioned during the budget, we have some additional funding to open what we normally give for the indigent funding. So this addresses some of those items. I've had outreach with certain entities that I'll be coming to you in a year to see if we can have fun. But hopefully this can open up doors for people who might need help with, co-pays. There's a lot of people that have staff because of the whole, Affordable Care Act. But in some instances, even if they have insurance, if they have co-pays, and the city and asking to help them pay for it. I'm also reaching out to like, certain, X-ray associates and sending different places that might be from the Purpose area or that might be sending them to some other places to see if they would accept funding from us to assist these people. And I'll be also reaching out to some of the laboratories who might have like repetitive tests that maybe their COVID are just too hard to pay. And this will allow people with a 200% of the federal coverage guidelines to apply, which is about $25,000, roughly about $24,000 per person, and then it increases depending on the number of patients. We used to have claims coming into us from the hospitals, but that claim process is actually being handled by all these hospitals, since they cover the safety net medical. So those particular things are still in the hospitals, we would just do other things.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Varela. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 31, indigent claims.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, these are our indigent claims that we have at the moment, since the last meeting.
Motion to ratify.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Nahar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 32, cash balance report for the month of April 2019.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is also for information purposes and to report the April 2019 reconciled cash balance.
Is there any questions? Item number 33, budget report for the period of July 1st, 2018 through April 30th, 2019.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, this is also for informational purposes and it's year-to-date budget report through April 30th.
Any questions? Item number 34, account payable report for the period of April 2019.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, there's two different reports in here. One report about what hiring system for all payments to the communities. The other one is the payment history report from Bernalillo County for the month of April 2018.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Garcia,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nahara. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Garcia. Second by Commissioner Nahara. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.